now getting into the main topic of the show today. The Rain of Star crew. So Adam, Cabbage, and Owen, we all went to the London Grand Tournament 2022 this weekend as the Rain of Stars team, unofficial, because it was a singles event with 76 players. And I don't know, Owen, do you want to kick us off? How did Rain of Stars get started? Like, where was what happened?
Well, I think we were sitting out one evening, weren't we? Like on top of a mountain in Turkey, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And like, just the sky lit up. There's just this shimmering stars were above us, like a halo. And you turned to the Turkish guide, Izmir, that we had, and you said, "This is a sign." And then Adam was like, "We're going to write a list." I think that's how it went, wasn't it? And Charlie, you were like, "Well, stars coming down. It's like it's like starfall. Got to do Stormcast." So we left Turkey that night, didn't we? I think
Bags full of contrast paint.
Bags full of contrast paint and just a head full of dreams.
Yeah, most people don't know that that's where you actually make contrast paint, in the Turkish mountains.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You squeeze it out of turkeys' necks.
Different coloured turkeys' nets is how you... Yeah, correct. Carry on, Owen, please. Feel free.
No, we were sat in this room I'm sat in right here, weren't we?
Just before we went to the Netherlands.
Before we went... And who lived in the Netherlands, Rob?
The Dutch. They live there.
They speak Dutch.
Not the Danish?
No.
They're from Denmark, you idiot.
What?
And Adam, you came over, didn't you?
I did.
And you said, "I've been thinking about a list."
And I needed to get it out there before people stole it.
Yeah,
like a man running to the toilet and needing to wee really hard. You just had to get it out, and we were the people that you wanted to
get it out with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so one of the things that came up was I then discussed that maybe we should all play it together. And the reason is because several years ago in the 40k community, the Brohammer team did something very similar. But they did it more with the intent of attempting to win an event. Where like they all took basically the strongest list was available to them, which at the time was Iron Hands, and then one of them ended up winning the LVO with that as a system. And then Adam, as he's off to do, told us this stupid list, and then we all tried to add as much into the pot of this insane...
Stupid?
Apologies, no. Inspired list.
Big-brained.
Big-brained, yeah. Like, yeah, several ridges on our brain. And then pile them all together and then craft. And it took a while to iterate, right? That's what it did.
And your addition, if I remember rightly, was something to do with the general?
I suggested that he was a wizard with Master of Magic, and I don't think that was a terrible suggestion. I'm going to say it. Yeah, I'm just going to put it out there, right? Yeah.
How did you think of that?
I don't know how I thought of it. It was inspired, I thought.
Hold on. Does the Star Drake have a massive book, or does the Lord Celestant have a little normal book?
I can never tell. Yeah, which one? Charlie, do you want to take us through the list that we ended up on?
Yeah, so we iterated for a while atop the Turkish mountain, and then in Amsterdam, where the Dutch are, and
live.
Yeah, and we have the Star Drake with the Lord Celestant and Star Drake.
What command trait did he have?
He had Master of Magic.
And artifact?
Well, he had to have the Arcane Tome, otherwise he couldn't have. Well, he could have had Master of Magic, but just no magic to do it with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
He got a book, then he mastered the book.
I see.
And then his command trait was, I think it was Celestial Instincts, which was you retreat and or charge.
Wait, what?
Yeah, we had retreat and charge.
Retreat and charge?
Yeah.
Shit.
You didn't know that, Adam, no?
No, that could have done quite well.
You can only shoot or charge, though, can't you, Charlie?
Yeah, you can't do both.
Yeah.
That we had that all weekend.
All weekend. Yeah.
I used it once.
I used it zero times.
I got locked in combat twice, and I was like, I wish I could retreat and charge.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to find out that some of us didn't study as hard as others, particularly for the. But we'll get to that in a moment. So Star Drake, so he's got retreat and charge. So that's our general, 500 and something points of raw medium
500 on
power.
the nose.
Yeah.
And he's got Thunder Shock as the spell.
That's right.
Which
Thunder Shock
is
the spell.
Mathematics.
It's an 18-inch aura from him, and you roll a die for every enemy unit within 18 inches of the caster, and on a 3+, they have -1 to wound until next hero phase.
Honestly, amazing.
How many times did you cast it, Adam?
5.
Ooh,
Charlie?
twice.
Rob?
0.
Me too, bro.
You 0.
Jesus.
Yeah, it just never came up. It was just
What?
yeah, because like I think when we
You're
get
supposed to yeet it in and cast
Yeah.
Thundershock.
I think when we talk about how we all played it, which will be the very interesting part of the show, will be that like because I would look at the board state for all of us at different points, and we all played it very differently, which is pretty interesting. So, and I think that's actually like maybe if nothing else, really explains the deep level of intricacy in which a Warhammer can be. And also why some people do well with this, some people don't. There's lots. I think this is actually as a weird litmus test for Warhammer. This is actually fascinating, in my opinion.
Not to skip ahead, but also explains how we all got different results as well.
Correct. Exactly. So Star Drake. What else do we have, Charlie?
Then we had a Celestant Prime.
Perfect.
And a Slan ally.
Yes. An allied in
265 points
of raw magic, which is
yeah.
great. Yeah, because he's got a War Scroll spell. We should probably talk about what the units do in order as we go through. So the Star Drake's got a shooting attack, which is 4 attacks at 30 inches, and it moves 12 inches, which is 3s and 2s. It's called Rain of Stars, the name of the list.
The eponymous Rain of Stars.
Yeah, the name of the list. And it's 4 attacks, 3s, 2s, Ren 3 damage
3.
2. Ren 3 damage 2, which is pretty wild.
So good for Unleashed Hell.
Yeah, maybe as we go through the elements of the list, we should talk about how we felt about those parts. So the Star Drake, and he had what has he got? He's got a hammer with 3 attacks that are damage 2, claws with 4 attacks that are damage 2, and then D6 tail attacks that are damage 2.
And what else, Rob?
When he piles in, he can eat 3 models. That when you roll equal to or above their wounds.
It has to be above.
Above.
My Star Drake ate so much stuff.
Did it?
So much stuff.
Amazing.
Won me my game 4.
Really?
Yeah, I ate a Blight King to deny the grand strategy because I needed to kill 3 Blight Kings to control the Nurgle. You know the Nurgle piece of terrain?
Yeah.
And Adam, you killed how many Blood Knights after you break away the coherency?
10.
No.
in my opponent's turn 1.
You ate the kit line of there were a unit of Blood Knights that were strung out in a line.
It was 15 Blood Knights.
Yeah.
Right. They strung them out. Right.
Yeah.
And I ate 2, 1 in front, 1 behind, broke the coherency down the middle.
Yeah.
And then I think there was 10, so I killed 5 in that turn from like Unleash Hell and like just combat in general. And then he had to literally kill half of them again. So I killed 10 Blood Knights in his turn 1.
And just to explain why for everyone, if there's a break in coherency, then the person who's controlling it has
to basically kill everything until you're back into coherency.
Yeah.
And because I literally split it down the middle, he had to then kill 5 more Blood Knights.
That's 15 wounds you just wiped out. Oh, that's amazing play. Oh my god.
3 hits, just 30 wounds.
What?
Well, he killed 5, then took 5 off, so it's 30 wounds down.
That's huge.
I'm sorry, they're only 3 wounds each.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you do it on a 3-up, Adam?
Nope, I had to do it on a 5-up, apparently.
Oh.
Ooh. Oh no, but maybe he had the thing on that gives him an extra wound.
I hope so. I probably did.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah,
sure
I hope so.
I'm sure he did.
Plus, the Star Drake does mortal wounds back on 6s to save.
Didn't remember that either.
Obviously gives you access to monstrous action, 18 wounds, 3-up save, 6-up ward from hammers, because we played sub-faction hammers of Sigmar, didn't we?
Yeah. I tell you what, I've played so few combat monsters over the course of this edition since third that like I really do not remember monstrous actions as much as like I really should like in the thing. I will also when we get to talking about this. Okay, so Stardrake. So I found him fairly middling, but I mainly used him as a gun platform to countercharge, to bodyguard my Judicators, my Slan, and my Hurricanum. So what I would generally do in most of my games is turn 1 or 2, I'd bring down the Prime, kill something important, and then generally be trading. In fact, I traded very little. I just kind of kept swiping at stuff, and then when they got near, then the Stardrake would push stuff off objectives, basically. That's what his job was. So that was my playstyle, and then because of that, I found him a little bit underwhelming. He only died, I think, in a single game. But then in some games I was like, I wish I'd committed him more. And then in one game he went in and he killed one Graveguard, with all of his activations. I was like, this guy's rubbish. So yeah, I personally wasn't a particularly big fan of him. And even because it was kind of interesting because I wanted to give +1 to hit to the Judicators because they've got quite a lot of shots between them, right? 8 with the main bows, and then the main guy's got like D6 shots. So I was like, I really want to give +1 to hit to them, but I also obviously wanted to give +1 to hit to the Stardrake. So I felt a little bit torn in some ways on what the best application was, and I didn't really know what the math was in doing the right one. What did you guys? How did
Always
you guys?
on the Stardrake.
Always on the
Always
Stardrake.
Stardrake.
Always on the Stardrake. Yeah.
Okay, so
Because the Judicators, you're fishing for mortal wounds, right?
Right.
I was playing with all shockbolt bows, because that's what the models had. So it's just 11 shots looking for 6s, and everything else is bonus.
Mm.
And then the dragon, though, with the Ren 3, you're trying to get as many of those 4 shots through. Because if you get past the wound rolls, it's pretty much going through.
He's a really good blocker, I found. When you've got quite heavy terrain and you've got those 6-inch gaps with that big base, you can, like you were saying, Rob, you can sort of screen off and protect your castle after your initial screen's gone. But I really like the fact that with that massive base as well, we had the call for aid holy command. So that big base then regenning the unit wholly within 12 of him would mean that you could put your recycled unit of liberators actually in some quite interesting places. So I denied against the odds because he took it, he killed them, and then the back end of the base was close enough to the objective that he chose against the odds that I was able to just outscore 10 Hobgrots with 5 Stormkeep libs. So you can, I thought he was quite good, and he was fast enough to go out and then choose how the libs die, and then as I say, put them somewhere interesting. So he was great. Great Unleash Hell, man. I killed Gobsprak with Unleash Hell on the charge, and I softened up a Glockkin and then banged off the Glockkin with the Stardrake in game 4. So like finest hour and +1 to hit, everything's 2s and 2s. I think it's pretty good.
Okay.
My Stardrake was just yeeted every game.
Really?
Like deploy him right at the front, and then have a screen. Their turn, give them turn 1, finest hour him, so that he doesn't die, and then you Mystic Shield him in your turn, throw him forward, and then just pin some stuff while you comet.
There was a very set way that we designed the list to play in the hero phase, wasn't there? Because we
Should we just go through the rest of the list quickly then?
Yeah.
If we're digging in, right? Yeah. So we'll come back to that because we had so you had the Stardrake, Thurston Prime, and the Slan for 3 heroes. Then we had 5 Liberators, 2 Fulminators, and 5 Judicators of Shockbolt bows. Then it was the Hurricanum.
No,
it was the Luminarch.
Yeah.
The Luminarch, Everblaze Comet, and Horrorghast.
And important to note, we were also a Stormkeep and Hammers of Sigmar. So that meant the Liberators counted as 3 each per objective in rounds 1 and 2, and then rounds 3, 4, 5 they counted, but only on your home objective. And then rounds 3, 4, 5 they counted as 15 on the opponents. So it's quite interesting.
Anywhere, yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I really enjoyed that element. Like, I could definitely see me putting some Unmatched Conquerors on my list. I talked on the stat show today, and I was like, I'm seeing more and more just Bounty Hunters, Unmatched Conquerors, general play, because I think it provides some real problem bits for your opponent. I found it really useful.
Yeah.
I like the Stormkeep because it means you can be 1-drop Battle Reg and then have like pseudo Expert Conquerors in all your Liberators.
Yeah.
Is really nice because there's lots of other things that synergize with being on the objective wholly within. Like you get the D3 mortal wounds when they get charged. You get the what's it called? Lalo the Tyrants, the 4-up D3 mortal wounds as well. So yeah.
Forgot that as well.
I forgot that. I never used that once.
I also forgot that every single time. It's important to know.
It's very rare that I finished a combat with the Liberators next to anything.
Yeah, Owen, could you just remind us of what it does? Because all three of us didn't do it.
So basically, at the end of the combat phase, if you've got a unit within an inch of the Liberators, it's just on their war scroll. Then on a 4-up, they take D3 mortal wounds. And then from Stormkeep, if you get charged at any point, and it's not like an Unleash Hell, it doesn't happen once, but every time a unit finishes within an inch, it might even be 3 inches, I'll have to check, but basically within range of the libs, if you charge the Liberators on a 3-up, you take D3 mortal wounds. So if someone multi-charges to get a load of bodies on the objective to outscore those 15, you can just keep doing D3 mortal wounds on a 3-up to the unit that charges you.
I found I've rarely had them isolated though. So either they were isolated and got killed and then didn't do it, or they were next to the Star Drake and the Star Drake killed what was trying to get them. So I rarely finished a combat with Liberators in
I
combat.
gave no shits about the Liberators. I was like, just yeet them.
Literally
anywhere.
none.
Yeah, I just didn't
Throw
care.
them forward, let them die.
Yeah, I was
but usually the objective is somewhere in the center, right? So the libs push up to capture it, and the Star Drake goes in to fuck shit up.
Yeah.
Sorry, demonetized now.
That's okay. That's fine. And to give everyone a quick idea of how the list generally works as a theme, the Comet is a spell cast on a 6, and it's set within 33 inches, wholly within. It affects
36.
36. Wow, even further than I thought. And it affects every unit within 10 inches. And you roll a dice on a 1, enemy unit, sorry. On a 1, they take a mortal wound.
It's your units as well.
Oh, okay. Well, it was never near my units, but fine. Okay, good. So on a 1...
Used it on my own Liberators, lol.
Oh, did you? Nice. I shot my
Kill 'em
Luminarch.
to then call for Adam.
Oh, nice. That's clever. I shot...
It didn't actually work, but I tried.
I swear it's not your own units, man.
It is. I think it is.
It just says units, doesn't it?
Okay, cool.
But so,
so
on a 1, so every unit in 10 inches, so it's a massive radius. Massive. It's basically board wide. Yeah, it's on a 1, a mortal wound. On a 2 to 5, it's D3 mortal wounds. On a 6, it's D6 mortal wounds. Shout out, by the way, to when I was against Sigvald and I rolled a 6 and then a 6. And I felt like a golden god, which was amazing. Love you, Tebow. Thank you very much.
The number of Slanesh.
Yeah, and then it was really good. I loved it. So there was that. So it's meant to do mortal wounds via that. The Celestin Prime picks a point within 3 inches. Everyone takes D3 mortal wounds. The Hurricanum draws a line in 30 inches. Luminarch, sorry. A line, everything underneath it. On a 2+, takes D3 mortal wounds. The Slan has got a spell called Comet's Call, cast on a 7. It's D3 units that take mortal wounds. Just take D3 mortal wounds. I thought it was on a 4-up, by the way, until the final game. FYI.
Yeah. Also on a 10, Rob, it's D6, right?
Yeah, but I thought once you chose the D3, it was then a 4-up and then D3 mortal wounds.
No.
God,
just happens.
I was like, and even then I was like, this is great. Like, even then, right?
The Slan's got +1 to cast in his War Scroll, and the Star Drake gives +1 to cast to all wizards within 18. So
yeah, so the flow of the turn then is you sort of start the turn, you get 4-up, roll 2 dice, and a 4+, you get a CP from your Slan.
Which is good in this list because you're trying to use a lot of CP.
Yeah, so you get a lot of CP then. Then you're using your Slan. He's got +1 on the War Scroll and +1 from the Star Drake to try to cast Everblaze Comet 36 inches. You can backboard him because it's so far away, so he can't be unbound. And Comet's Call has infinite range, so you cast that next. So that can't be unbound either. Then you can Mystic Shield your Star Drake. Star Drake puts out the Horrorghast. Right? At that point, we've just bombarded people with Comet's Call and the Everblaze Comet. Then in the movement phase, you can either drop your Prime down for more mortal wounds or keep him off. Shooting phase,
when
you've got
I
a
found out
Luminarch.
the Slan had 6 attacks, he became Combat Slan. Like, he went into cut. Someone charged him. They were like, your Slan can go next. I've read his War Scroll. I was like, oh, baby.
Yeah.
6 attacks. I'm all out attacking. Like, everything.
3-inch range.
Oh.
3-inch range.
3-inch range. Oh my
I was
God.
like, here we go.
Yeah, he's really good. He's really good.
So carry on. Sorry, Charlie, you were saying. So
then you're blasting. You got the Judicators with 24-inch range. They do mortal wounds on 6s to hit. The Luminarch moves 10, then shoots its line 30 inches. So being a line means you've got to line it up, but with 10-inch movement, you can sort of make the angles you want around terrain. I usually found I could get sort of 2 to 4 units, depending on the line.
I think I mainly got 2 units. I rarely got like a lovely combo of 4. Never really
I
happened.
only got 1 unit.
On close to the chest with the L shape, I just ran him up the side of the board, and then he could just laser across the whole army, basically.
Yeah, I think against T-Bow, I got Ungor Raiders, Bliss Barb Archers, Painbringers, Twin Souls, the Blue Scribes, and Sigvald in one line.
That's
Against Gargants, I got 1 Gargant.
That's the downside of the Luminarch.
Yeah, I personally don't like the Luminarch. I think that's the first thing I drop.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah.
Get out of here, Luminarch.
Is that go on.
Sorry, Rob, go ahead.
It's just it's fragile. It doesn't really do much damage compared to other things I think you could take for 200 points. It means your list is even more defensive for no particular reason because you're babysitting something that's not good. So like that's my personal suggestions for why I wouldn't take it. Guys,
I charged mine once.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's terrible in combat.
Did anyone do any wounds with its arcane tools?
1?
No, never got into combat.
I did one or 2 with the horses.
Oh really?
I used them as bait all the time because you tend to do a bit of mortal wound damage, and because your opponent's taken so many mortals, they're like, "Ah, shit, I need to get some of these mortals down." So I used to bait and then punk off whatever came in. Because with the 2 fulminators, have got the breath weapons as well. Don't forget. But
yes.
They don't have the same range as everything else, do they? So they don't really key into the.
No, that's the issue with the fulminators. I found I could rarely shoot them very well.
Honestly, their shooting did not matter.
No, not when they got combat like that, baby.
When I charged them, I felt like a god.
Yeah.
I was like, "What are you, dead?"
I can't believe that you used to be able to take 4 of those in Living City and move after you struck in. That's the
so good.
dumbest thing.
Hey,
I'd never used fulminators before.
Yeah.
No.
And then, like, the first time, I literally, rolled it, and I was like, oh, baby, that's, 4,000 damage.
You know that in our sub-faction, they're battle line, so you can take a unit of 6.
I'm in. And then you can... Yeah.
2 units of 6?
But yeah, the Luminarch and the Fulminators are the same price, right? So I think we all agreed at the end of the weekend it was like.
Yeah, I think my Luminarch did the most work for me out of the 4 of us. I kind of had him sort of at angles, shifting around, zapping things along lines. He did decent work, but I think obviously when things got close, it was useless in the fight. Whereas the Fulminators just cleared units, and that's what I felt like. The list really. The list was built to scatter lots of damage across lots of units.
Yeah.
And then basically sort of weaken them so much turn 1 by taking out lots of little support characters and small units that they didn't have much to function with. But if we came against an army which had a big model or a big centerpiece unit, we couldn't do enough concentrated damage a lot of the time.
I don't think I was sober enough to use the Luminarch effectively. Trying to draw that line. That was difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
Getting tape measure
out.
I thought I was
was great.
All over.
Oh yeah, shooting a KO boat. When you shoot a KO boat, does it hit everything inside the boat?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does.
Oh my god, disaster.
Also, you can shoot into Wildwoods if you've got a range because you just put the point. You only have to see the point that you shoot to. You don't have to see what's under the line.
Yeah.
So if you can angle it and get the point to then cut through a wildwood or cut through a piece of
obscuring terrain.
I did that because the base is like a oval, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So you put one point of the oval so you can see, and then you draw the line from the back of the oval.
Yeah.
The other thing is that the Luminarch's got 11 wounds, right? So obscuring terrain doesn't affect it, so it's true line of sight. Wildwoods might be different, but it's true line of sight because it's got 10 plus wounds.
Please, whoever's got their phone on, turn it off. That's my first question. Whoever, that's thank you. All right, go on, Owen. After you.
I was going to say, Greg in the chat saying 3 Raptors with Thunderbolt Volley instead. You said that, Charlie, initially.
Yeah, I mean, Raptors might be pretty good because I think the theme. Well, it's a theme/meme list, right? So at a certain point, whenever you're doing these kind of lists, you're going to come up to a point where you've got a crossroads between what's the better choice and what's the theme choice.
And
I think
just
long
take
range delivery.
4 dragons?
That's another possibility.
Yeah, see, the issue is like, yeah, the whole idea is like maintaining a theme, right? The idea was like a turn on Alpha Strike bomb. That's why one of the other things we haven't talked about much comes in, which is obviously that Horrorghast, which is a spell.
Yeah.
Which is why we obviously talked about taking the Arcane Tome, because casting Horrorghast was basically an auto win in some games, and that's because like we were mainly teching into what the meta was meant to be. Nighthorn is a castle build army. It has a load of characters that generally go around like a block in the middle. Sylvaneth do the same, and both those at the moment are about 7% of the meta. Horrorghast also deals with Beast of Chaos pretty effectively, as does AoE damage. So you're in a pretty good, like, Nurgle was the only thing I was like, if we get Nurgle, we lose. Nurgle's the one that's tough. So I think there was also some thought that went into it a little bit more than just a meme, right? Like it was,
Yes.
it was meant to be we hit the good matchups. Anyone at all play against Night Taunt?
I did.
Oh, baby, how did that go?
So he had 4 heroes. He had 2 Spirit Torments, Guardian of Souls, and the Cruciator. And it was Quicksilver Dead with 2 units of 20 Harridans.
Yeah.
Hex Raids, Chain Rasps, and 6 Spirit Hosts.
Yeah.
They, looking at the list, they deployed the Guardian of Souls and one of the Spirit Torments on the opposite sides of the deployment zone. And then they took off the board at the start 20 Harridans, the Cruciator, and the other Spirit Torment.
Mm.
So I wasn't able to hit both heroes with the Comet. And my turn 1 was not good. I didn't cast the Everblaze Comet, and Comet's Call only hit 1 unit. So it was pretty of a weak turn 1. Then he struck in, came at me instead of... I went to the objective and then got pincered on both sides.
Yeah.
But the Fulminators and the Dragon just tanked it for like 3 rounds of combat, killed all the Harridans. Killed 20 Harridans, 10 Chain Rasps, 6 Spirit Hosts, and then we killed all the heroes with the Comet once they came down. And Slan got eaten by a Purple Sun, but then the Star Drake got rid of it eventually.
Mm-hmm.
I just sort of chewed through everything and then ended up tabling him, but it went okay.
Okay, interesting. And then, other things we were meant to play into that was work well. Sylvaneth. Adam, did you play Sylvaneth?
I did.
How did that go?
Really well.
Yeah.
I also cheated.
Okay, good. What did you do?
So me and Tom had so I played Tom Connell.
Lovely fellow.
Which was fun. And I had some insane dice.
Yeah.
Like, so in our list, when you have nuts dice, it's pretty bonkers.
Yes.
But like he was playing the Arch Rev, Valerial, 6 bows, 2 Tree Revs, and the 3 Revenant Seekers.
Yeah.
List that you see, and I know that list like the back of my hand because it's what Math Mallow was running against me for a lot of games. So I knew like to kill the Arch Revenant first. Did that turn 1, then turn 2 I killed all the Tree Revs, and then all he had left was Alariel, 9 bows at that point, and 3 Revenant Seekers. And then there was a turn where we got past like the end of my hero phase, and Tom was like, "Oh, mate, I meant to unbind your Horrorghast." I was like, that's absolutely fine. Crack on. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
You know, so he unbound Horrorghast, and then like a minute later, I went, I've still got 1 spell. Can I just cast it again? He went, yeah, sure. And then I was like, and then like at the end, like I got to like that night, I went, shit. Like, because obviously you can't recast it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and neither of us realised, but like, so I felt pretty bad about that because it may have killed 3 Kernoff Hunters. Oops. But like, you know, it was a genuine mistake. But yeah, like, so Horrorghast is really powerful. So making that mistake is quite a big deal. But like, so I cheated against him quite badly. But I think I still would have won the game anyway because I still did lots of mortal wounds to him. I still, I'd never dropped Alariel. I just kept bracketing her so she could never die and teleport behind me. And then, yeah, just took the objectives, played quite a nice game. He shot 9 bow hunters and Alariel at the slam turn 1 and didn't do a single wound, which was hilarious.
Amazing. Yeah.
Not single ones because I deployed the slam.
I think Owen feels that in his heart.
Right next to 5 Liberators, who was obviously what's it called? Lookout Sir. So he was -1 to hit. And then I did Finest Hour on him. So the Slan's on a 3+ save.
Wow.
Did you know he has a command ability, which is +1 save against missile weapons?
My turn 1, I use that Mystic Shield on him, and then in Tom's turn 2, he shot again and didn't do a single wound.
Oh my god.
So the Slan at that point has taken 18 bow hunters and 2 aerial shots and just sitting there like, yeah, and what?
He must be livid.
He got a little bit tilted.
That's fair.
And then I also did Thunder Shock.
Yeah.
Because it affects shooting. And I hit all the bow hunters, so they're all then -1 to wound as well.
Oh no.
Because that's why you
yeet... putting the thing in. Yeah, exactly.
It's why you yeet the Star Drake.
I guess it is why you yeet the Star Drake. A lesson I still need to learn. Okay, and then I won't ruin it for when we go through our games. But Owen, you and me also played Sylvaneth.
Yeah, I played them twice.
Oh, okay. So there was one where we both played the same Sylvaneth. We won't go through that yet. Well, how was your other Sylvaneth game?
Very different. It was, so I played the lengthways deployment against a lovely guy called Will, and it didn't seem like a particularly focused list. It had 6 Lancers, 3 Seekers, Warsong, TLA, Purple Sun, 2x5 Tree Revs, 10 Dryads, and some Gossamedes. And yeah, I just basically gave him first turn, survived the Purple Sun, and then I felt that the Horrorghasts are really good because they're all bravery 6 generally. So I think the Horrorghast was really good in that game. Killed the Warsong Rev turn 1 and just kind of tried to take him apart. The big swing, I think, was talking about the resilience of the Fulminators, as you were in your game, Charlie, against the Nighthaunt. 6 Lancers and 3 Seekers, so they all get to strike before I do. Killed 1 Fulminator, which was pretty strong. But yeah, I brought the Prime down turn 1. I think that's always a tricky decision in our games, when to bring the Prime down. But he came down to take out the Warsong because of the wounds, and then I just felt like I could just pick him apart with all the mortals, and that combo is really strong, as we've talked about. Comet's Call, Mystic Shield on the Star Drake, and Horrorghast. It's just it's pretty gross when it all happens into the right matchups. So against your standard Sylvaneth builds, I think it is a good matchup for us. I think we found that through the course of the weekend. Apart from if it's a very different
Sylvaneth build, which we'll talk about.
What?
You what?
What?
All right, okay. Just to kind of round it off, and then we'll talk through our games, and then maybe we can talk about the whole thing. I think maybe before we do any other part of this, I found the entire experience, before we talk about our games, I found the entire experience of doing this with you 3, and then also being at the event, even though I was particularly unwell, maybe one of my favourite wargaming experiences, because we all, it was insane, right? I could just be like, how many attacks has he got? Owen, how many attacks has he got? Oh, Charlie, what's his cast on? Or when, we would each go up to each other's game, like, I just lost my slant to Purple Sun. I'm like, oh no. Yeah, because we all intimately knew what the key element to our army was. Adam, how did you find it? Oh no, I've lost your audio, bud. I've lost your audio.
There you go. Sorry.
Yeah,
I was
good.
Doing other stuff.
Yeah.
When someone tries to call for aid on the other side of the board, and then we have 2 players looking at him, going,
"No, not looking at me. Immediately screaming at me.
No!
No!
Don't do that."
I was like, oh, okay, good. Also, the most stressful game I've ever had is where, because I only read the rules to the army on the trip up, if I'm 100% honest with everyone.
I played some games on TTS.
I did not even do that. I played all 5 of my first games at the event, and Owen was sat next to me at one point, clearly furious. I didn't know Stormcast exploded until the second game.
Oh mate, I didn't do that at all this weekend.
Yeah, I didn't do it at all.
Not once.
Anyway, it was very funny. What was your experience with it, Cabbage? How did you find it?
I found it was really great. We finished the game to go over, see how everyone else is doing. People come over, how are they doing? What's the team on? Oh, we're on 2 wins or whatever it is. That was great. And then we had the hammer going around, right? That was fun. Giving this to people, walking around, giving it to Russ so he could deal with problematic people. It was great. It felt better than doing it alone, right? You're all there with a team, got this camaraderie, good vibes flowing. and we're all playing the same thing, trying to eke the most out of it. It was a real laugh.
Yeah. What about you, Owen?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's like when you go to a tournament with a group of friends, you are always interested in, when you get your break and like, how did this go? But because we intimately knew all the minutiae of the lists and like how it should play, and
I wouldn't say intimately.
Okay, but
I'd say no, but not intimately.
But like for example, we knew going into round one that yourself, Adam, and you, Rob, you had the more difficult matchups,
Yes.
and then Charlie and I on paper had potentially the easier matchup. So it was like, how did you turn one go? Did you take the first turn? How did they deploy? Blah blah blah. So it was that kind of thing where you are there with all your friends and you are interested, but then you've got all this amazing knowledge about the ins and outs of the list. And yeah, I would say it was in my top 3. I've been to a lot of tournaments. Definitely top 3 tournaments ever, I think, because we were just all on a level as well, and it was like we were there. It genuinely took all the pressure off, and there was actually no like who's going to finish top or out of the group or anything. I think some people thought that we were doing it as a competitive thing within the group, but it was more just good vibes, wasn't it? Really,
it was
only competitive.
Yeah, only competitive. It honestly, like I would do it again, and we already talked about this like in post. I would do it again in a heartbeat, and I would like, this is from me. You guys will speak for yourselves. I would actively encourage other people to do it as well, because it was just so much fun, especially if one of you were someone who's a bit new. There's a kind of little bit of pressure off. If I mean, obviously, this means you got to buy the same army twice, which I know is ludicrous, etc., etc. Hashtag 3D printing. But like I personally, I think it's fantastic. Yeah, that's kind of my takeaway.
Oh, Rob, I will say publicly, anyone that plays in the UK that's going to a tournament, if they want to borrow an OBR army, a Sylvaneth army, any of the armies I've got to do this with their buddies, just hit me up on Twitter. I'll lend you my army to do it, because it's a lot of fun, right? And like you borrow, I mean, how many different armies was yours created from, Adam?
Mine was created from 4 different people.
4 different armies.
Yeah, I think so.
I own 0 of the models. I borrowed from 5 different people.
Oh, okay. Yeah, great. The worst bit about my army was all my stuff, from my Age of Sigmar 1 stuff. But the worst bit was, and actually I'm still talking to authorities about this, is I turned up to the event and someone stole the base for my Star Drake. Just stole it.
What?
Yes.
Wow, really?
Stole it.
That big, lovely round base.
No, it's actually the Stormcast base is actually is an oval, Owen. Sorry, don't know if you remember. Yeah. So it got
yours was round.
I was gonna say, I thought yours was
I thought it was
rounded.
No, it's definitely oval. So my enemies,
right?
Yeah, stole the base of my model.
What did you have to do?
Well, then in a very quick emergency, Russ, the TO, I spoke to him. I said, "Look, someone's stolen the base from my Star Drake." And I definitely haven't brought the wrong base. And he was just like, well, wow. And then we cut it out of a piece of cardboard. And then we did, to be fair, make it look really positive. Like we wrote on it, we wrote scenic base on it, little bit of some squares that said rock and tufts. So
you had tuft money.
Well, we had tuft drawing money.
I mean, that's basically an NFT.
it was an NFT. That's exactly right. Again, we weren't just pushing conceptual list boundaries. We were pushing
non-transferable tuft.
Non-transferable tufts. Yeah.
Non-fungible tuft. Yeah.
Anyway, so I just wanted that out there because obviously there were some photos and I just didn't want. I wanted the thieves' court. So if anyone sees
around scenic base,
sorry,
I meant oval. Sorry, oval.
No, yeah, oval. Sorry, yeah, sorry. You see an oval scenic base.
Not round one
with a Star Drake's foot on it.
Yeah, please, if you could just find it. Yeah, the TO by enemies, exactly. All right, let's talk about a game, shall we? So we'll all go through just each round together. Round 1, Owen, who'd you get?
I played against a lovely guy called Simon Stevens, and I did this twice in the weekend. I underestimated what is listed, and it bit me on the bum.
Okay.
So very quickly, we played Presence of Idols.
Mm-hmm.
So he had Durthu, an Ancient, a Warsong Revenant, 3 Treelers. If anyone watched the list show earlier, I played against the list of the week. So yeah.
You were repaired, weren't you?
I was repaired because originally I was going to be into Beasts of Chaos, and I was repaired then on the Friday night into this list. So because I play the army and, I thought loads of mortal wounds, this is going to be fine. But yeah, he had a 6-up ward, and then he had an Ethereal Durthu. Very quickly, gave him turn 1. He came forward, failed a 6-inch rerollable charge. I think that happened later in round 5 as well, didn't it? To one of us, that he failed a 6-inch rerollable charge with his Mega Durthu.
Yeah.
And his Durthu was ethereal and had the D3 extra attack, so really scary. So he just shot, I lost 2 Judicators on the first turn, but he put a Tree Lord on each objective and Durthu in the middle. I then killed the Warsong turn 1, did mortal wounds to everything. His 6-up ward did some good stuff. And then I charged Durthu because he had 3 wounds left with my Star Drake. And
how did that go?
He killed my Star Drake on turn 1. And I immediately regretted my life choices.
And because normally a Durthu degrades, right?
Yeah, but Oakenbrow, because he was on 3 wounds remaining, he still was second top bracket. So, no, that's right. He had 3 wounds when I charged him, and I left him on 1 wound. And then he had D6 damage on his weapon, and he rolled 17 damage on 3d6. So he rolled 2 6s and a 5. And then I didn't roll a single 6 on the 18 dice when he exploded, so I didn't kill him back. And then he won priority, and then he killed some more of my army. And then I started getting tilted. I rolled 4 1s for priority, started moaning about dice, and lost the. It was 100% salt. Not gonna lie, We started off great, and he was so narrative. He'd even though lovely guy, I loved it. He'd renamed all the spells and all the artifacts to his own lore. It was a beautiful army, but I didn't care. After round 3, I was like, "Come on, then, hit me with this, dickhead!" And yeah, it was a really good list, though. He was automatically casting Tree Songs, so he had.
Were you sort of in traditional event headspace at that point? Because of the first game.
Well, it's not traditional for me to lose round 1, if that's what you mean.
No, I mean when you have a tough game, you switch to assault sometimes, right?
Yes.
But the rest of the after at lunchtime, I could tell you were in a bit of a sort of salt mood. But then the rest of the tournament, you were all juice, pretty much.
Yeah, you were vibing. Yeah,
I loved it. Well, to be fair, actually, much like other times when I've had a bad game, Adam and I went for a nice walk, didn't we? You had a bit of a hangover. I was a bit tired. Oh, sorry, but I think you're muted.
No, I can hear it.
Oh,
You, Owen.
sorry. So I walked off the salt and I returned fully juiced.
Was it Bregs?
I lost and
you did the OJ 180.
I did the OJ 180, baby. Turn that frown upside down.
Exactly.
And I got 6 points out of the round, and then I went and apologized for being a bit salty, and I went on to round 2.
Okay, great. Adam, tell me about your first round.
Awful.
Oh, okay. What happened?
So I played. Hang on.
Nicolas.
Yes. Part of the French, I think, team, maybe?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I went into it. I was not looking forward to it because I don't like the French culture of gaming. And then I saw the list, and it was Bellacore, Blotkin, 10 Blight Kings, and 4 Flies. And I was basically like, if I get a good turn 1, I can deal with it. And I didn't get a good turn 1. I failed to cast Comet's Call. I failed to cast the Comet. I failed to do any damage. And then he did his turn and moved in the middle of the board. And then I couldn't kill it.
Oh.
And then turn 2, the Slan miscast. So he didn't cast anything. And then turn 3, I lost priority and couldn't be asked anymore because I was tired. So I shook his hand.
Okay, that seems fair. Was this Nurgle?
Yeah, awful.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah, not good. No, not good.
No, it was
Not
bad.
we should touch on that. I'd like to say that, like, Adam's point about cultural gaming, I think is really worth the show. I'm actually later on this week. I was writing the script a little bit today, but with a 4.5-hour show and then a show this evening, not finished yet. But I think there's definitely a real good conversation to talk about. And actually, I had that with most of my opponents. I don't know if you guys did this as well, because one of the key elements of our list is that when we cast Comet, so the Everblaze Comet from the Stormcast Eternals, it only does the damage on the turn that it lands. So it's so important that in your opponent's hero phase, you unbind it. But that happens at the start of the hero phase. However, your opponent has loads of stuff that happens at the start of the hero phase. And it's incumbent on them to be like, you know, they like start the hero phase, I do this, I do that, I do that. Okay, now I'm going to start casting spells. Unless you quickly catch that, and you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. So I would always be like, oh, it's your turn, you get some CP. By the way, at the end of the beginning of your hero phase, or at the start of the middle of your hero phase, I would like to unbind a spell. Yeah, like, and it's kind of, it's quite fair to say, I think, that at least the beginning of the hero phase stuff, and or maybe in addition, the like, there's definitely, I think, a need to maintain the ball state between players, and I think we haven't yet quite developed that as a culture, and I think that's really healthy to talk about. Did you guys also find that a bit of a problem, or were you a little bit lax on it, Charlie?
I did find it a problem, but I was quite hot on that because I knew I needed to get that comment off each time. So I was sort of talking my opponent through their start of hero phase stuff quite quickly. So okay, so it's your turn. What's your tactic? What's your heroic action? You know, anything else you need to do? And I wouldn't like press them to do it in any particular order. They can do it the order they want to do it. But I sort of, like, if they started doing spells, I'm like, we're still doing start of hero phase. I'm doing my stuff now. So I was also pretty hot on making sure, like, they did all of their stuff so that if I could do my heroic action and dispel before they did their hero phase, or like in a way, like, in sequence, so they didn't have to take back what they were going to do. Right? Like, okay, this is all the stuff you can do. Now I'm going to do my stuff, and you don't have to go back for anything.
Yeah. What about you, Adam?
Yeah, I was not that hot. And if I forgot about it, and then, or didn't even forget, if they went too far, I'd just roll the dice and take the comment off. And if they told me I couldn't, then I'd tell them to piss off.
It's another style. I'm not gonna lie, that's another style.
Like, because if you don't let me take that back, you can get out. Like, we're not going to be friends.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I don't want to play you anymore if you're going to be like that. I have no time for people.
Well, I personally think, like, culturally we should be very up on trying to communicate as much as possible. I think the key to a beautiful game is just like very, very vocal communication. But that's huge amounts of effort. I wasn't very well this weekend, and you have to put a lot of energy into making sure that you can achieve that, like, a lot of the time. Like, and then, you know,
I just don't think it's hard to give your opponent a take back.
It's not.
No.
I think if our strategy didn't heavily resolve around the comet, I wouldn't have been so hot on it. But I was like, I need this comet. I need this little testicle to come back to my hand.
I quite enjoyed it, actually, because I felt it was a nice little bit of fun interaction, because me and my opponents got to be like, it is stupid that there's an end of the start of the hero phase, like, that you need to be a part of. Like, so they quite enjoyed that. So maybe that's a tip people can use. Owen, what did you think about? Like, were you hot on letting people know?
Yeah, I try. Much like Charlie said, it's an interesting one. You don't want to say, like, I'm going to do this at the end of your hero phase, because you don't want them to then be like, oh yeah, I'm going to rally, you know, or you don't want to, like, do your rally and then be able to step back and then do their rally. So I would be really waiting and be like, right, if you cast your spells, okay, bang. My point was going to be, question for you all. Do you unbind it with the slam? Do you dispel it with the slam at +1, or do you dispel it with the Star Drake?
Star Drake.
It's got the reroll.
Star Drake.
Reroll.
Slam.
Oh, we got a diversion. Definitely Star Drake with the reroll, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I need that +1, baby, because I do not roll well.
Yeah, but reroll gives you more of a chance, right? Because you got to unbind it on a 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure what with 2d6, but I think in D&D they say that having a reroll is the same as having a +5 to your dice.
Wow.
Or D20. So
I just like using the slan.
Yeah, to be fair, that's also true. Yeah, especially as our slams look great.
But then if you use the Star Drake, you've got the +1 unbind for the other 3 on the slan, right? You've got 3 +1 unbinds. ready for their hero phase.
The fact that the slan was all like I didn't care. Like at any point they were like, I've cast a spell. I was like, this guy is going to unbind it. Like I never it was it's so stupid.
Another
Like,
reason to use Star Drake.
Game one, I forgot he had a board wide unbind,
yeah.
and I went, and my opponent cast a spell, and I was like, I'm out of range, and then it went slan. I went, oh yeah, lol.
Another quick question, because I don't actually know this and it didn't come up, but if you re-roll a dispel with the Master of Magic, can you then also re-roll an unbind with the Master of Magic in the same hero phase?
You've only got one unbind with that guy.
Yeah.
Academic.
Of course, yeah. So once you've used that, then you can't.
But if you did have 2 casts,
then no, it's one. I think it's one dispel or unbind.
Oh.
But anyway, we could look at that.
Check
It's not
the
important
tapes.
for now. It's not important for now. Okay, so who were we on? Adam, you've done yours. Owen, you've done yours. Cabbage, your first round.
Yes, like I mentioned, I played Benjamin Anderson, who I met at Birmingham initially back in May, the event I ran. I met him. He was playing Nighthaunt, the Quicksilver Dead, and like I said, he split his heroes up and did quite a nice play. And I was sort of, because he split his heroes up and took them off the board, and I knew he had to drop in turn 1. I wanted to give him first turn, but I deployed terribly and left my slan exposed, which meant I had to take turn 1 to then protect my slan. So I had to push into the middle, kind of whiffed my turn, and then I had to just sort of wait and soak up the incoming ghosts. And then the Fulminator and the Star Drake were just immense. They just tanked everything. Horrorghast was out at least, and shocked off some ghosts. He charged, obviously he dropped in, then charged out of his Cruciator range. So I was getting all my damage through, eating ghosts, and it worked really well. I lost the Libs and Judicators, and then the Slan went in the sun. But at the end, I finished with the Prime, the Star Drake, and the Fulminator, and we just tabled everything. Benjamin was really nice.
Quick question, Charlie, and no foreshadowing here. Were you worried about things going in the sun over the weekend?
No, I wasn't really worried about it.
Good. All right, good. I'll just leave that there for the moment. My first game was against John, and he was running Nurgle, and I already knew I was in for a good game because he turned up and he was like, "This is my general," and it was a Nurgling atop a wolf. Yeah, and I was like, "Let's go." All right, yeah. Like he's like, "This is my," and he had like his whole army was a bit kit bashed. It was that army where I was like, this is just a lose for me because it's 3 objectives. It was 3 objectives across the kind of triangular center, and then there was 4 Puskull Blight Lords, and there were 2 units of 5 Blight Kings, and then there was also. Was there a Maggoth Lord? I can't remember. No, I don't think so. There was a Lord of Afflictions, though, definitely. And I was just like, cool. He just puts that all in the middle, and even with all the AoE damage, it's just the end of the game as we know it. And then, but I was like, do you know what? But he had Gut Rot Spume, and I was like, maybe he'll try and do a cheeky little like deep strike. So I just deployed all my boys on the line, but with the Slan's buttocks gently poking its way towards the corner, like hello, inviting. A Nurgling invasion, and John decided he was going to take it, put his 2 units of 5 Blight Kings and Gut Rot in the far bottom left-hand corner where they were just able perfectly to somehow fit, and then and it was a bit risky because then he had 3 9-inch charges because he obviously had 2 and then a reroll on 1, but thankfully he didn't make it, at which point I just cast a bunch of all my spells into the 4 Puskull Blight Lords, the Lord of Afflictions, the whole business, all of that stuff in the middle, and then just kind of like ran all my stuff towards the middle, and tried to like really tried to keep the Fulminator safe was mainly what I was doing because I really needed those to go into the flies because 4 flies is obviously outrageous.
Yeah.
And then I think I won the priority into 2, and I just kept whittling stuff down. So I eventually killed the Lord of Afflictions. I brought the Prime down. He went and killed something. I think he charged into. I think he killed him charging something and then got slapped back and died, actually, if I'm honest. Something along those lines. And then eventually I was able to very out-attrition him in the middle. But that was only because 500 and something points was just in the far left-hand corner. Had he decided just to deploy on the line, I think it was game over pretty much straight away, if I'm honest. So I was pretty lucky he decided to make that decision. But yeah, lovely fella. We had a great game. He said he's not been playing much. He used to play like a lot. and then he's just kind of getting back into it, and he just seemed like a super nice bloke. Like, we just had a really nice game. We just played some Warhammies. It was good fun, if I'm honest. Like, he was super up on what everything did. He was just fun game. Had a great time, and actually I was kind of like, ooh, that's a bonus, because that was like, I went into that on a complete lose. Yeah, so I was in a really fun place, because I was like, this is a loss. I conceded 7 times during the game, as is my tradition. But it turned.
Yeah, that is your tradition.
Yeah.
That's how you win now, isn't it? You're like, I've lost this. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh, I'm gonna concede. And then next time you're like, oh, maybe I won't concede. And then you go, oh no, I'm gonna concede.
Yeah, it was honestly really fun. So that was my first round. Okay, round 2. Owen, who'd you play?
So, full of Gregs, after a lovely trip, I played a guy called Andy, and I got essentially probably the perfect matchup for our army. So we played Nidus Paths, and I played against Andy with his Cruel Boys. He said he was a 40k player, and he sort of was playing some AOS as a little holiday away from that meta. The way that our list, he understood to try and split his army up a bit, but I think that the range is massive, right? The 22-inch bubble or whatever off the comet. But basically, I got everything off. So, took turn 1. I decided to crush a flank, just try and crush one side, and I really wanted to get rid of the little shaman. So he had Gobsprak, a killer boss on a vulture, which is actually quite good tech against Horrorghast, because every unit within 3, if they fail a battle shock test, only 1 model runs away. So I was worried that he'd castle his whole army around that boss, but he split up a little bit, so I went after the side which didn't have that boss near it. With the mortal wounds and the laser, and I didn't bring the prime down, actually. No, I did. Sorry, yeah. I brought it all down, and I did the bomb, and I killed probably about 40-50% of his army on the first turn. I killed 6 Bolt Boys, a Shaman, a unit of Hobgrots, half a unit of Gut Rippers, took wounds off all the characters. I just did it from such distance that I just wanted to kill all the Bolt Boys, basically. From that point on, I kind of left him with his monsters. I kept everything really far back. I just put the Luminarch a little bit forward and 5 libs to cap an objective. And he had one flank with just 10 Hobgrots, so I was able to clear that and then box him in. And it was the perfect matchup, and it went really well. What really was bad was I roadblocked my castle with the Star Drake, and he was like, right, I've got my Cruel Boys War. I'm going to be able to charge in and double activate with Gobsprak, and also with my Sludge Raker Beast into the Star Drake. But he got his charges wrong, and he charged Gobsprak first, so I shot him off with Unleash Hell. And then the Star Drake tanked the Sludge Raker Beast, and then one-shotted the Sludge Raker in combat. See?
What?
Star Drake. Yes!
I love
Star
Star
Drake, baby. Rain of Stars.
It's combat attack, isn't it?
Yeah. I think we got to turn 3, and he had 5 Gut Rippers left at the start of my turn 3. It was 20.
This was Carsten, right? No, not Carsten.
This was a guy called Andy.
Oh, Andy. Okay.
But he was great. At the end of the game, he said, I play Thousand Suns, and everyone's complaining to me about all my mortal wound output, and now I know exactly how it feels. So thanks. So he took it really well, and we had a really nice time. It was I won in, basically, it was 3 turns, but just the perfect matchup, basically. And then I came and sat next to you, Rob.
Yes, you did, staring at me, giving me the evil eye. Well, you're not doing that right. Okay, Adam, how was your second game?
So my second game was really successful, actually. So I did so well in game 1 that I got the joys of playing the TO.
Okay.
So while I was at Greg's with Owen, I won 20-0.
Yes.
While we were eating, which is quite nice.
Nice.
And then I turned back to the venue, and Russ said to me, he was like, oh, look, mate, I'm a really avid football fan of the Arsenal.
Of the
Arsenals.
Yes.
Right. And he was like, I really want to watch the football.
Ironwood Arsenal.
Yeah. And the Up the Gunners is what he said to me.
Yeah.
Those exact words, by the way.
Correct.
And he was like, I really want to watch the football. So I said, it's all right, mate. Give me the 20-0. You can watch the football, and I'll do whatever. You don't have to play. It's fine. So we didn't actually play a game. I just won 20-0 because I'm that good. He was intimidated by the list. He wanted to watch the football. It was all on him. It was nothing to do with the fact that I was really tired, hungover, drunk again, and then wanted to go to a petting zoo.
It also wasn't because that was in the pack that's what happens.
No, not at all. So I then went to a petting zoo. So got an Uber to some street that had a petting zoo on it, to only find out that it was closed.
Would you like? It sounded like it wasn't even really real. Would you say it was menagerie?
I would laugh if it was your joke. But I know how you just like to rehash things.
I do.
So
it's true. It's true. It's because I'm an ex-Games Workshop employee. That's why.
But no, that was honestly the most disappointing part about my my weekend. The fact that the petting zoo was closed. So I came back and I had 2 hours left to kill ish. So I went to the bar and did 2 hours worth of drinking.
Wow. Because you would have thought you'd done enough.
No, not at all. And realizing how expensive London beer is by the end of that 2 hours was not a realization that I needed to look at.
What's nice beer though?
I just drank Magners, so it wasn't. But yeah,
That's a you problem.
Honestly, I had a lovely time, except for the petting zoo. So yeah.
I've only just noted that Grubby Ungor donated £15 to the show earlier. Thanks to Grubby Ungor. Oh, thanks.
That's Simon.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
Mr.
Yeah, that's Simon. Him and Johnny Thunder. Such a pair of reprobates. Thanks, Grubby Ungor. Wow, I completely missed that. Thanks, buddy. Okay, Cabbage, tell us about your second game, because, ladies and gentlemen, strap in. If Cabbage stops doing whatever the fuck he's doing near his microphone, yeah, this is going to be great.
Just pouring myself some water to get ready. I had the distinct pleasure of playing against Thibaut de Benaz, round 2.
I'd like you to know that, like, this is for everyone. I'd like you to know that having played Charlie, who was playing next to me, Thibaut then came over to my table and continued to, in foreshadowing, say that my list was stupid, that we're stupid, that everyone around us is stupid, the fact that it exists is stupid, and that we're a disgrace to humankind. This is Thibaut, and he's one of my favourite people. He was great. He was wonderful. Yeah, like he was he was French also. He was like, "Fuck you, you fucking stupid." Yeah, it was amazing. Anyway, sorry, Cabbage. Yeah.
So he was playing MSU Slanesh, which seemed like a great matchup for me.
Yeah.
So many little units, all packly tight together, deployed together, and he he deployed very, very carefully, measuring very distinctly where the sun couldn't go behind his lines. And he sort of took my sun and just spent about 10 minutes measuring everything else. There was no place I could place it, because you have to place it down more than 1 inch from other units, other models. So I just sort of went off and got a drink and things like that, came back, finished up, and then I was like, yep, I'm going for it. And this was what's it called? The paths, Nidus Paths. Yeah, that was it. Nidus Paths. So cast the comet, cast Comet's Call, put the Horrorghast down, shot the Star Drake, shot the Judicators, brought the Prime in, shot him too. Luminarch shifted over, got a line through about 6 different units, and in turn 1, I killed 10 Ungor Raiders, 2 units of Untamed Beasts, 10 Bliss Barb Archers, 10 Twin Souls, and the Blue Scribes. So I did all that, and then I was in like a pretty good position, because he basically had 8 Twin Souls in 2 different units, and then 20 more Bliss Barb Archers and Sigveld, and that was basically it. Oh, the epitome. I basically killed more than half his army in that top of turn 1, and I basically controlled the whole center of the board, capped all the objectives as well. I felt pretty good. Then it was his turn.
Yeah, he must have been like, ooh, wee.
He was like, ooh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, no.
At this point, though, I made a terrible mistake.
Oh, yes.
Didn't read the mission properly.
Yep.
And in the Nidus Paths, if you can teleport from corner to corner.
You can.
Yeah. So I read it as if you begin your turn within 6 inches of the corner, you can teleport.
Oh no, baby.
And he was not within 6 inches. And I said, okay, well, you're not within 6 inches, so I don't need to block here. And he was like, yep, I'm not within 6 inches. Turns out you have to, if you finish your move within 6, you can teleport.
Yes.
Yeah. So his turn 1, he teleported he teleported some seekers around the back, and then charged into the slan and the adjudicators did okay.
Oh, I
And
don't
then he
like
sort
that.
of finest houred Sigvald to get ready for a big charge into the Star Drake. And then he cast Purple Sun.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he rolled a 12 cast with the Epitome. That was -1 because of the Star Drake, but I only rolled a 10 to unbind it, so it went out. That's okay. You can't hit much. Places it out. Okay, and it was just next to the Star Drake and the Celestant Prime.
Oh yeah.
And
And this was the old Purple Sun rules.
Of course, yeah. So Celestant Prime rolls the dice, and it's a 1. Prime's gone.
In the sun.
Prime in the sun. I was like, okay, well, you got 1. Star Drake. Oh, that's gone too.
Yes.
And he just shouted, yeah!
I watched it live,
Allez!
and it was. I watched it live, and it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, like it was like 1-1. Charlie was like, "Oh no," and his face was so happy.
He was just shouting, and I reached over and I just shook his hand, like, well done. We'll see how it plays on, but well done. That's a top moment, that is. And I was just like, well, I guess I lose now. So Sigvald was like, what do I do now? Both my charging targets are gone.
Yes.
So he got the double turn and sent Sigvald into the slan instead. And I scrapped around and managed to get a few points. So I think it ended up being something like a 14-6. So not too bad.
Yeah. Okay.
That was it. But and then Tiba at the end was like, yes. And he's like, I'm sorry, but I'm playing Slanesh and you have this, so fuck you.
that was his attitude all weekend. Yeah. It was amazing.
Then he bought me a beer and we chatted. He said, this is my hammer now. He took the hammer for a while.
And then because your game was over so fast, he then watched my game and was just rude about my list for the entire of my game, having just beaten your list, which is very funny. I played James with Soulblight Gravelords. There was like a Necromancer, a Vampire, some Soulblight Gravelords. Some 2 units of what are they called? Graveguard, some zombies, some dogs, and then was I don't think that there's some Blood Knights. There was a unit of Blood Knights at the back of the board.
Blood Knights.
Blood Knights. Only 5 though. Don't worry. And then James, who I played, who's again a treasure. This is going to be just a review for my weekend. I just had an incredibly lovely weekend. Everyone who I played was like, I would play each one of those millions of times, like, which was just phenomenal, to be honest. Anyway, I think turn 1, I took the first turn. I killed a bunch of stuff, killed the vampire. I kept trying to pop wounds on the necro, but like I wasn't rolling. Like, you know how you said the list is amazing if it rolls hot? It just wasn't. Like, it was like a mortal wound, a mortal wound, a mortal wound, and that really didn't play particularly well into Soulblight Gravelords, who were able to like res a bunch of stuff a lot of the time. So like that felt a bit weak. And then I struggled a lot on the battle tactics over the course of the weekend, if I'm honest, especially because I didn't play as aggro as you lot with the
get it in there.
Yeah, with the Star Drake. So I did push him in, and I was like, okay, I just need to take out these 10 Graveguard, and he killed 1. And I was like, oh, and that's like, no, he killed 4 because he ate 3, obviously, but then he only killed 1 with his actually melee profile.
What are you complaining about?
Well, yeah, agreed.
I'm sorry, but he ate 3.
He ate 3, but then he didn't kill any more than 1, and I was.
But he ate 3.
Yeah, it's true, and that would have been my battle tactic, which would have been quite nice. And then also those Graveguard were able to do quite a nice bit of damage back in, which was quite interesting. And I think maybe I misplayed like that turn 2. I maybe should have gone somewhere else. I don't know. I'm still coming off the absolutely electric high that is 6 Skyfires who have Destiny dice to charge, which basically means like I still don't know that I can't go everywhere on the board. Like I'm still like, oh, I can only move 12 inches. This is awful. Like, how am I going to survive? So yeah, like, but he was
the Prime.
Huh?
I just love the Prime.
Oh, I love the Prime. The
Destiny dice every turn, baby.
Yeah. I just auto charge everything all the time.
Everything, every time.
I forgot I could do other things apart from auto charge him. So other fights, I was like, I didn't do any more dice rigging the rest of the time.
No, only auto charge.
Yeah,
even when it's a 3-inch charge, 12-inch charge.
Yeah. So I think there was a bit of it was a bit too many wounds on the board for our list. It was a bit too elite. But also James didn't mess up. He ended up going 4-1. With his list, he only lost to the winner, Darren. So like he should be super happy with himself as well. Especially Soul Blight Gravelords. Like they're not necessarily doing super well, but it was just a lot to chunk through. Basically, it was just like, oh, there's only so much. And then when he did eventually get into he managed to get the Graveguard into my Fulminators. And so then he just lifted them up. But I did rally one, so I loved that. But just a wonderful game. But I lost that one, so that was a toughie. But yeah, I feel like maybe in another version of the game, I just roll quite hot on the dice, and a lot more gets lifted off, and then it goes my way. But it didn't. So there you go. That's important. I think he didn't have much left at the end. I said Star Drake not being able to achieve a lot. So that's mine. Round three for Owen. How'd it go?
That was good. I think really quickly, I think you're right. Overall, the list really struggles to do battle tactics, which is quite a problem in this game, isn't it?
Yeah. And also hold objectives.
Yeah. 2 key tenets of the game, right?
2 key tenets of the game. They really fucking struggled at. Yeah.
But it's good at killing stuff, and that's fun, right? So
was it good at killing stuff though?
It's all right.
Depends.
We played Won't Back Down. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
The one which is lengthways. And I played Will, who was great with Sylvaneth. I think I talked about it a little bit earlier. Lots of big fly bugs. So I knew that they were the problem. So I just basically pushed the flank that they weren't on, and kind of wheeled him around. He cast Purple Sun turn 1 and had a roll into the Star Drake and the Luminarch because I split my army up. But he didn't get any of them, which was lucky. And then I was just able to move up, shut down all the woods, so that his only way that he could attack me was with the fast bugs. And I went to the other flank other than them. So turn 1, I think I killed the War Song. I brought the Prime down, killed the War Song, killed most of the archers, killed most of the dryads, and then just knew that I just had to deal with those bugs then, and I would get the game. And he got prios, I think. Yeah, I didn't win a prio on the Saturday, actually. So yeah, he got the prio, and I don't know if I'd mentioned that.
You hadn't.
No, but so yeah, I knew that once I got rid of the War Song, then he didn't have any real mortal wound output, and the Tree Lord Ancient was right back in the back corner. So I knew if I shut down the teleporting, then he'd just walk around 5 inches every turn.
Tree Lord PTSD.
Yeah, exactly.
So much Tree Lord PTSD.
So I think in that game I lost the Judicators on turn 1, and then that was it. I just ground him out. The Fulminators tanked the bugs, and then the Star Drake and the Prime killed 7 out of 9 bugs in one turn. Again, the Star Drake ate a bug, which was great. And I was able to get that one 19-1. We stopped on turn 3. In the right matchups, like low bravery, no mortal wound save, like you can clean it up quite quickly, I think. It's like what you said though, Rob. If there's loads of stuff on the board, they get you on the damage output and they get you on the primary.
Yeah.
But no, so it was fun. It was just one of those matchups where I knew his army really well, so I knew how to shut it down. So 2-1 for the day.
Great. Congratulations. And Lex, who's a big Sylvaneth player, just found out that the Tree Lord teleport is only not stopped by standing within 3 inches of Wildwood. So
I found that out earlier. Yeah, because it's different wording on the war scroll. So Durthu, you can't shut Durthu down other than camping around the whole wood and turning it off so that they can't be within 9.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Okay, amazing. Adam, your game 3?
So I was pretty salty after game 1.
Fair.
Because we got our bad matchup of Nurgle.
Mm-hmm.
And our other bad matchup that was there was Gargants.
Yeah.
And then at lunchtime, I think one of you guys said to me, Adam, you're playing Gargants.
The only Gargant player in the building, by the way.
The only Gargant player, yeah, that was there.
So you know how I feel about Gargants anyway.
Yeah.
And then plus the fact that our list isn't very good against Gargants. I basically went into that game not happy. I walked up to my opponent and told him I didn't like him.
Yeah.
I meant his list. And I think I was 10 or 11 pints deep at this point as well. So I had a lovely time. And yeah, this was against Kelvin, and he was lovely. And while he was talking about the roll-off for who's going to deploy first, I deployed my army. Because I was done at that point. I was like, here you go, here's my army, whatever. Because I'm a one-drop, you're four, it doesn't matter, who cares? Because it was lengthways deployment, I deployed most of my army on this side, just because I didn't want to reach across the table. And then I proceeded to play a game against them, which was kind of okay. And then me and Kelvin had some more drinks. And I did quite well, which was weird. Yeah. I think the power started to sink in at that point. And turn 1, I did nothing. Turn 2, I lifted a Gargant, which I was shocked. I was shook to the core.
Yeah.
So I went and got another pint to celebrate.
Good.
And then turn 3, I took off another Gargant, and I was like, oh baby, here we go. All right. And then I started doing some. I saw the Matrix. I got to that level where like I saw it. It was like a Beautiful Mind type of thing. And I did some quite cool plays to get like grand strategies. So instead, I dropped the prime. So it was there was 6 objectives. So it's like 3 that run along the top and 3 run along the bottom. I dropped the prime on the bottom left objective to take it off him because he'd moved up the Gargants off. And then because I screened my other objective, the Liberators, because then he'd have to charge the Liberators and kill them. So then the Liberators died, which meant I could call for aid them from the Celestant Prime onto the other the other objective, which then meant he only scored 1 objective for the turn.
Amazing.
So like I did some quite cool plays, and then turn 4 I took off another Gargant, which left 1 Gargant in the middle of the board, and I was just holding more against Gargants, which felt odd. And I got grand strategies. I was getting battle tactics. I did the Stormcast battle tactic.
Nice.
Of kill a monster with a Star Drake.
Did that loads.
Oh wow.
That was quite fun. And yeah, we did some like we just had a great time, and it was the funniest game in the world because we were laughing at everything. I was drunk. He had a pint. And
this is the role of the book, the Gargant book, to lose in style.
I wouldn't call it style. I took off some Gargants. There was no style to it. If it wasn't for him as a person, it would have been the most boring game in the world. And if I hadn't had so much alcohol, I'm not sure I would have enjoyed it.
Yes. Okay. All right. Good.
But I won, and I had a lovely time.
Yeah.
Honest.
Yeah.
And Kelvin's amazing, by the way. He was like one of the best AOS players, like as a person.
Oh, good. Oh, that's lovely.
He just needs to get a different army. I really, really don't like Gargants.
That's fine. That's PTSD. That's fine. That's okay. Cabbage, what about you? How was your third game?
Yeah, it was good. I played against Jonathan Hale, and he had KO. So I knew that he could sort of go anywhere. So I sort of deployed on the line, really sort of pushing up so I could get to him. Because I knew he'd deploy as far back as he possibly could so that he couldn't be alphaed as much as possible. And then he could drop anywhere to then shoot me back. So I pushed up on the line with everything. Then he deployed in the back corner as far as he possibly could. But it was all in one corner, and you can't outrange that slant, baby. It's just too long.
You can't do it.
So dropped the comet, hit the boat, hit everything. And because they're in the units were inside the boat, I hit all the units in the boat as well. Then I did Comet's Call, and I got him to get all his heroes and put them in a line on the board so we could just put wound dice next to them. And he had 5 heroes. He had an admiral with the arcane tome. He had a spell in the bottle guy. He had a navigator. I think it was maybe 2 navigators and 2 aether chemists. One had the spell in the bottle, which is the purple sun. But he also had the arcane tome, so you could purple some of the arcane tome as well. I hit the comet and things like that. I killed the spell in the bottle guy with Comet's Call and the comet, and then I took down 2 aether chemists and the navigator to 2 wounds each, and the admiral had 5 left. Okay, they've got 2 wounds each. I shot so the Luminarch couldn't reach them, but the Star Drake could. So I shot him forwards, and then Rain of Stars 4 shots. I just put 1, 1, 2 into those 3 heroes and shot them all off.
Wow, that's amazing. Big ballsy play as well.
Yeah. So end of turn 1, I had killed 4 out of his 5 heroes.
Wow.
And then he then had his turn and teleported over to I'd left some space at the back, stupidly, and I'd not placed my Slar in the right place. And I'd also forgotten to do the command ability against missile attacks. I was like, oh shit, I need to do that, because it's obviously what I do. And he was like, nobody will let you take that back, but he did enough. So he just teleported back and then just gunned my Slan down. Then he got a double turn and shot some more things, but didn't do quite enough. So I still had the Star Drake and the Liberators called for aid, so I still had them. I still had the Fulminators. So then I just proceeded to just bring the Prime in, charge into the Ironclad, destroy that, destroy the frigate, destroy the gun hauler, and that was done. Tabled them.
Wow.
Amazing. They suffer from having everything inside the one boat, so if you hit that, then you hit everything.
Yeah, that's really amazing. Like, that's actually quite interesting, because that's a garrison, effectively, right?
Yes. The Luminarch hits everything. Although the Luminarch died pretty quickly. But the comet hits everything. Yeah,
you target that, right? You'd be like, that needs to die immediately. It's wrecking my whole army.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, really fun. Good guy?
Yeah, really good guy.
Okay. Well, my final game, we were outside, all having a laugh, because my game with James finished. We had like a big long break, which was really fun. And then I was just kind of just vibing a little bit, and then someone's like, "Rob, your next matchup is Cruel Boys," and I was like, just happy dancing. I was like, "Oh yeah, auto win for Rob. Let's go. Auto win for Rob. Let's go." And I was just like, "Cruel Boys, gonna nuke 'em. Cruel Boys," just having a joyous little jig. Anyway, and then I was like, "Oh, I wonder who I'm playing." And then Carsten, who was sitting next to me, was like, "It's actually me." And I'd been dancing for 5 minutes about this matchup. I was like, "Let's go. This is easy." And so Carsten took like a champ, which
it's even funnier because literally I've been sat with him for about half an hour, 45 minutes at that point.
Yeah.
And he was like, "I really don't want to play your list," and I was like, "Yeah, it's just against you. It just wrecks you. So easy if I played you."
Yeah. So
then you did that. His face was like, "Oh no."
I know. So he had some Bolt Boys. He had the Incarnate, okay, some Bolt Boys, and some other little elements, which was quite good. And I couldn't shoot them outside 12 inches, so some of the elements of our army. And actually, when you actually deploy, it's actually a good army. There's a lot of output there. I put the Prime in, and charged it, nearly died to the Sludge-Raker, and then killed the Sludge-Raker. This is later on. Because first turn I dropped the Comet, and again, I didn't roll particularly well with the Comet. I just did a couple of wounds here, a couple of wounds there. Put the Horrorghast in, and that didn't really do much. Apart from, I think I killed, a Hobgrot, and then he had to roll the dice on, one Hobgrot. And then he had to roll the dice for the Battleshock test, but then rolled a 6, which meant then another D3 or something ran away. Whatever the situation, the entire unit ran, from 1 or 2 dying, from mortal wounds, which is pretty funny. But yeah, it was actually genuinely quite challenging because I couldn't shoot him outside of 12 inches, but most of our stuff isn't that sort of damage. And I rolled badly on the D3 mortal wounds and stuff, so I think it could have been over much, much quicker. And that said, there was still just a lot of output generally from the army. But then, you're always in that position where turn 1, you're like, "Oh, okay, I've done some damage." But then he's like, "No, you've actually killed a Shaman, half my Bolt Boys. You've actually done a lot." But it never looks like a lot because it's not the whole army. You're like, why is it not all dead?
Yes.
Like I want it all to be dead. But he was a real treasure because he knew he was pushing a rock uphill. He built an army to try to make it work. He was putting some real effort into it. Played the game super clean, super fair, super lovely. Like just a real nice guy to play. Just one of them gents. Like again, 3 great gents all day, and it was just wicked because I was just like, okay, like, and then, but I was in that position where when you're doing well, but you're like, I definitely can fuck this up. Just don't do it.
At any point, I could lose.
Yeah, like at any point, because it honestly did feel like
Cabbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it honestly did feel like I had like a gun to my head, like, and I had a gun to his head, but I just got to pull the trigger a few more times first, right? Because it's so violent, the Cruel Boys army. If it pops off, there's so many mortal wounds. Like 10 gut rippers went into the Celestin Prime, was just like, you're dead now. Like this, just 15 mortal wounds, you die or something. It's nuts. So yeah, like I quite like the Cruel Boys army actually. I think with the right
I still think 2 units of 30.
What?
Gut rippers.
Gut rippers. Yeah, I kind of agree. If they had 4+ rally in their army, they would not be anywhere near as shit as they are. So
What?
Yeah.
Maybe that's gonna be in Battle Scroll.
Let's go. Yeah, 4+
How do we
rally.
fix an army? 4+ rally.
Yeah, these guys suck. Yeah, so it's quite interesting. But I had a really lovely game, and it was basically I just did mortal wounds to all of his stuff, killed the Incarnate, and then because the Incarnate went in actually, this is quite interesting. Incarnate went into he got like a 12-inch charge. Yeah, he got a 12-inch charge with his Incarnate. He was over the moon. He was like, yeah, let's go. And then it got into like it got into the Hurricaneum, and it got into the Judicators. But then didn't kill any of them, and then I charged the Fulminators in, dropped him a level. Then he was like, right, I'm going to kill the Fulminators and the Judicators. Then didn't kill either of those either, and I was just like, he's like, I hate this thing, and I was like, yeah, I can kind of understand because it is very swingy, right? The Incarnate.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
Like it's super. All right, so just before we get into day 2, let's do a quick tournament report. Table height, Adam.
Atrocious, and I'm not very tall.
Agreed. Owen.
Yeah, it was really bad. And also, like, each table wasn't, like, where the legs were, that wasn't necessarily where you then stood. So it was like people were putting their stuff, like, halfway in the middle of my table, and I had to ask them to move it sometimes. So that was, frustrating.
The worst bit for me with the table height, it was just super low. That's fine. I'll move on from that. The worst bit for me from the tables generally is that they were all laid out. So they're like, these are the lava section, right? But then I could never tell the difference between my lava mat and the very next lava mat that was linked right there. I was like, it was like they literally connected. I was like, where the fuck is the end of my table?
I kept putting my comet on other people's tables. I was like, wait, what? I can't kill that Cruel Boys army?
Yeah, that was rubbish. How do you feel about?
I guess when we were all playing together in a line, it kind of felt like we were all in one big battle.
True.
Like I thought we were going to have 3 comets on the board at one point.
Yeah, Charlie, how do you feel about the terrain?
It's basically, well, as you guys know, I've worked with Zach on a number of events, so it's basically the terrain that I use, but it was laid out differently to how I usually lay it out, which is a bit of a mix between the different sets. I don't tend to put the mats all together. It's probably the case that Zach uses agency workers to set the tables and set the mats and things out, which you have to do with an event of that size, because even small to medium sized events, you need to have either volunteers or agency workers set it up, because the logistics are a nightmare for large events. So it's probably the case that all got set up by people who possibly don't know Warhammer, and then at that point it's too late to like get things exactly how you want it. So that's probably what happened.
That's fair.
I'm kind of used to those tables now, so I didn't particularly notice the height, but obviously not being in line with the legs is a little bit annoying.
Yeah. Owen, how did you feel about the venue itself?
If I could just say about the terrain, there's no cover. Did anyone get a cover save this weekend?
No.
Not really, because like the cover, like everything was, like the pack would say you'd have cover, but then it was like impassable or garrisonable.
Yeah,
like bits of terrain. Like, I didn't like the terrain. So like it looked alright. I just think it was laid out not very well. But
the venue was fine. It was really close to where I live, and you stayed, so that was good, and not far from either of you two either. So that was big thumbs up. The toilets were fine. I think it was really hard to get food as ever. I think most of us gave up on the queue, didn't we, to get food, which is always a thing. But I did quite like that little area that was kind of a bit of sun and shade, and like we sat on chairs, and some people who smoke, we smoked, and kind of that little bit outside was quite nice. But yeah, it was fine. It's Lee Valley, isn't it? It's kind of
it's the nature of it being a convention space, isn't it?
Yeah.
Being a convention, it's quite difficult in England to get big convention spaces.
A dangerous hole in the floor near your table, Rob.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you see how that got created?
No.
I just walked over it.
One of the French guys literally walked over it and went through the floor.
Yeah, it was.
And then he nearly died.
Yeah.
So they're both heavy-footed and heavy-handed, then, eh?
So, yeah, I would say that the toilets were pretty rough, to be honest. It had.
If you use the portaloos.
Also, I felt
because
pretty rough.
everyone was so scared of using them that no one used them.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'd say I recognise how difficult it is because it was only £50 for a ticket for the LGT, and I really feel like Zach could have added £20 or pounds on at least per person. And considering there was a 740 40k event, while simultaneously there was Yu-Gi-Oh! A Song of Ice and Fire. There was actually 120 A Song of Ice and Fire players at the event that weekend, which is pretty amazing.
Wow.
There was Kings of War, there was Conquest of Kings, there was Lord of the Rings, there was Epic. So there was genuinely nearly a dozen game systems, maybe more than a dozen game systems being played. So there must have been Digimon was being played. There must have been 1,500 to 2,000 attendees over the course of the weekend. So of course it was busy, and of course there were lots of things going off. So all of the services were generally strained. But that said, I wouldn't mind seeing the ticket price be a little bit higher and just seeing the quality being a little bit higher as well. That seems fair as a statement, right?
Yeah.
Generally, no hand dryers. Were there hand dryers? I think there might have been hand dryers. I can't remember.
One thing I did like, I will say, is lots of fresh air, though. It's a big venue, isn't it? It wasn't like a sort of sweaty basement venue, really airy.
There wasn't a through draft, though, so there was a funk.
There was a 40k funk, definitely, when Adam and I walked through.
Goodness.
Changed man.
Yeah, that was a fun walk.
Yeah, the 40k section was hefty in the sniffs, to be honest. Okay, all right, sweet. I just wanted to. I don't think there's anything else to touch on about the venue generally or the event. As is, Russ ran the event, which was great. He had some really tough
Russ
TO
was
to
a
do.
great TO, by the way.
Yeah. Fair play. Did brilliant.
Well, LGT is not an event I'd pick, but
yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he had a tough weekend and he did well with it, I think.
Russ made the event for me, genuinely.
Oh, good. Well, that's nice.
If him as a TO, I think he TOs really well. He keeps everything going. He's not one of those, he just makes a decision. He'll walk up to a table and he's like, no.
Mm-hmm.
There's no sort of oh, but can I do this? No. And then he leaves. You're like, good job, Russ.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the LGT's crap, but I like Russ.
That's a good review. I also think, I haven't actually been to a convention of that size to play in quite a while. The tables are too low. I'm right next to someone else. There's no place to put anything on the top of the board. So you're constantly accidentally moving stuff and knocking stuff off.
Oh, that was the worst. Not having the little gap next to the table that everyone's now got.
Yeah.
When the mats got shifted to the smaller size, everyone just kept the gap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas they were like, no, we're going to get rid of the gap that everyone uses.
Yeah.
Pack them in.
Yeah, and then you were constantly it was nice seeing loads of people. I'm not gonna lie, but the general state of playing the game felt like it felt like a festival, like camping. It was right, cool. I'm gonna live in a shit tent and be covered in crap for the weekend, which is a pretty pretty crappy way to spend your weekend, right? Other than everyone was really sound. I had a great weekend. I'm just saying the environment was pretty toss, to be honest. And I can't see myself wanting to go to large events anytime soon.
I don't know. I think the space above made up for the being packed in a bit. I didn't feel too we weren't rubbing bums, were we?
Yeah, I felt like I was, honestly.
Yeah, I felt pretty claustrophobic.
Okay.
Yeah, I really did. All right, so day 2. Adam, how'd you do? Who did you play?
Day 2, game 1, I played Tom Connell.
Nice.
Which again, we got the matchups the night before, which was I don't like that because it makes me stress. Well, not stress, but then I look at things and I overthink it in my head sometimes. But I've gotten better at not doing that. Usually because I passed out. But I knew like having playing against Sylvaneth, I'm really confident in Sylvaneth just because I've played Matt a bajillion times. So I know Sylvaneth like the back of my hand. I usually know Sylvaneth better than my opponent knows Sylvaneth. And I knew what to kill first. I knew what to leave. So I played pretty well into it. It was whatever mission where you have the L shape and you make one a primary in your opponent's turn. So yeah, I killed the Arch Revenant turn 1 because I knew that's what buffs the Kern off. I knew he'd target the Slan turn 1, so I fired us out with the Slan and didn't die. Turn 2, I killed all the tree revs, so he had no teleporting abilities, basically. I kept unbinding his woods. This was the only game where I purposely left the Comet on the board, so I didn't dispel the Comet.
Yep.
To do the -1 to cast aura.
Nice.
Because Sylvaneth really need the spells to go off.
Yep.
So I had the -1 to cast from the Comet, I had the -1 to cast from the Star Drake, and then I had the +1 to unbind from the Slam. So he basically
I was today years old when I found out the Comet did a -1 to cast bubble.
It was great. Yeah, it's fantastic. Like using that against like armies that need spells is just awesome. Like it's actually better than the Mortal Wounds.
Don was saying in the chat that he actually would always. He said that he would say at the start of his opponent's turn, "Do you want? By the way, this gives out a -1 bubble. Do you want to dispel it?"
Yeah.
To try to make them use one of their spells to get rid of it when we wanted it off anyway.
It's not the easiest thing to get rid of though. It's the 7. It's not like super easy.
No, but it makes them try.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so like I just left that to give them minus. So we basically had -2 to cast, and I had +1 to unbind. So basically got no spells off, which was really good. And then I just kept mortal wounding stuff. My Star Drake went into his 3 bow hunters at one point and ate 2 of them. Bearing in mind you need 6s to do that.
Wow.
That was hilarious. I was
That's
like,
amazing.
oh, thank you. And then I never killed Alariel. I just kept bracketing her because obviously when Alariel dies, you can roll to bring her back.
Yeah.
But when you shut down Sylvaneth's teleports, that's then their teleport. So by not killing her, I was stopping him from having any teleports against me. And then in turn 4, I cheated, which actually won me the game. But I think I could have won the game either way. So I don't think it mattered too much. But, it was still a bit of a shit move from me. But then, so I won the game. I made Tom really salty because basically all of my rolls went off and none of his went off. And I rolled like an absolute god, which has never happened in my life. And I felt great and Tom felt rubbish.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So honestly, I had a lovely game.
I really feel for Tom. Tom's been working really hard to play some really good high-end Warhammer, and he always seems to just
Tom's amazing.
He always seems to get proper shafted by like a battle plan or some stupid 4 idiots running the same list. Like I don't know what. Like just having a tough time. Owen, who's your first game?
I played Adam's opponent from round 1, so Nicolas, one of the French Worlds guys. So Glockin, Bellacore, 4 flies, 10 Blight Kings. So a really elite list, even less models than us. We were playing close to the chest, so the kind of the L's, 6 objectives. So this was actually the game which was the toughest matchup because, we did say that we thought Nurgle was a really tough matchup. And I knew that I would be down and have to try and get it in the late game. So I just castled in the corner with everything except the 5 libs. And I put the 5 libs just on the back edge of the middle objective. I left the left one and just castled there. And then he put Glockin and the Kings in the middle and the flies on the flank and Bellacore at the back. And I made the objective that Bellacore was on the proving ground so he couldn't score it. And then he just moved his flies, but he didn't have charges, and he moved his Glockin and his Kings forward into the middle to put pressure on, and he didn't kill anything. I was like, sweet. He then Bellacored the Star Drake turn 1, which was great because I didn't want him to Bellacore the Slan. And then even with all the wards, I still thought that the strat was right to just go for the Comet and all the usual stuff. So chipping Bellacore, chipping the Glockin, taking off a King, chipping off a couple of the flies. I didn't do much, and I had to take against the odds. Because you know what it's like. Like turn 1 battle tactic. Was it like against the odds every time?
Every time.
Everybody?
Every time.
It's
Couldn't
really
do
tough.
anything. Yeah.
I
The only
tried not
time-
to in some games. I think I did 1 or 2 other ones, but I can't remember now.
The only time I didn't do that was against the Cruel Boys because he's super sneaky. The Maya Brute Trogoth within 9. So I did the thing where the general kills him or Drac.
I'd maybe use like Desecrate with Celestant Prime.
Yeah, that's a turn
I
2.
think I did that once.
I did Outmuscle for 1, actually.
Yeah, it was
But,
super,
yeah, so,
super hard.
sorry, Rob.
No,
Yeah.
it's just super hard to do battle tactics for that list.
Yeah, really tough.
And hold objectives.
Yeah. Then I won turn 2 Prio and I gave it away so that Be'lakor dropped off, and I'd put the Luminarch up on the left, on my right flank, lasering across his army, so it was kind of bait. So he charged. Oh, he didn't actually charge. He just moved his flies around a bit, moved his kings forward, got his 5 points again. So he was 10-4 up going into my turn 2. At that point, I felt I needed to push, but that Glockin ability just meant that he could have charged me at any point at the end of my movement phase with 10 kings, the Glockin, or the 2 flies. So I only gave him a charge with the 2 flies on the right flank, and he then he did a nice move actually. He charged the 2 flies into the Luminarch, but then tagged the Fulminators within an inch, and it was the battle round where I couldn't pile in. So he shut down the Fulminators for a turn. And that meant that I had to bring the prime down to get Desecrate and charge 2 flies. And I put all my shooting and everything I could into 2 flies. And I left 1 alive on 2 wounds, which meant he then piled round. And with a summoned Nurgling, he turned off my Desecrate. So I failed my battle tactic on turn 2. So I was 10-6 going down into his turn 3. And then I won Prio into turn 3. And that's when I then started to... I could go then. Because
You won a Prio?
I won a Prio, yeah. It was amazing. And I, at that point, then retreated the Fulminators out. The Dragon killed the flies. The Prime killed the other flies. And I chipped a bit off the other stuff and kept everything away from the Glockin and the Kings. And he was left with Glockin, the Be'lakor on 3 wounds, and the 3 Nurglings. And it basically just ended up, we went all the way through. He then failed Desecrate on his 4th turn by, he was trying to pile in, it took ages, it was one of these intricate pile-ins where he was trying to pile in Judicators, but he didn't want to go towards them. He wanted to pivot around them to get more models next to the objective. Because on his turn 3, he charged the Glockin in, I unleashed hell with the Star Drake, he killed the 2 Fulminators, and then the Star Drake lifted the Glockin in combat.
Yes, let's go.
Amazing. And that denied him 5 scoring points for Desecrate next to his piece of terrain. So that meant he piled his kings round and he failed to get Desecrate by 1 model. So that got me back that battle tactic I failed. Then I did win Prio again. And at that point I lifted off Be'lakor, and he was just left with a summoned beast and the kings. The Prime had gone up to that flank to clear it of all the Nurglings. So I was just closing the net around him and getting back. Long story short, he got 1 point on his turn, and then I needed in turn 5 to turn around an 8-point deficit. So, well, no, I could score 8 points, and that would win me by 2. So 5 libs that were in the middle hugging the back, they didn't swing in combat once. They just went to the left to cap that, came back into the middle to cap that, and then moved into the middle for the grand strat. So they did a great job. The Prime swept the board, killed the last Nurgling for gaining momentum, and then the Star Drake had to win me the game, and the Slan. The Slan jumped out of his garrison he'd been in all game, charged in to get me 2, because he had Blessed Desecration. So the one where you have to hold a piece of terrain at the end of the game, and it was the one that he'd failed to get Desecrate on. So he had like 7 kings left at this point and a beast. So the Slan charged the beast so that I was 2-2, and then the dragon, the Star Drake, had to kill 3 out of 7 Blight Kings, so it was 5 to his 4, and then I scored, it would be 7 scoring bodies against his 6. The Star Drake, finest hour, went in, all out attack, he killed 2, and the last 3 dice of the game were dual bites. So I rolled them out, and on the last dice I got a 6, 8 a Blight King, and then I beat him 22 points to 20.
Ooh, that's fun.
And he had
Spicy.
Yeah, so that was a really good win. That was the best game of the weekend for me because I played around all his threats, chomped around. The overall strategy was perfect, and then I did manage to claw back because you're always clawing back on the primary, aren't you? You've got to win late with the army, unless you either blow them up or you win late with the Drake and the Prime, and the Slan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a toughie.
Yeah, it was.
You
Yeah,
got my revenge, Owen.
Yeah, well
I
done.
did get your revenge, and that was the best win of the weekend for me. So 3-1 at that point.
Oh wow, it's revenge round. Okay, Cabbage, who did you play?
So I played against David Roland,
Yeah.
One of the French guys, and he had, I think a couple of them running the same list, similar to what we were doing, where he had a Tempest Sire list with the Hurricanum, 4 dragons, 4 fulminators in 1 unit. A unit of 4 dragons, unit of 4 fulminators, a Rune Lord, a Mage, and 3 units of Outriders. And he won the roll-off. He's a 1-drop as well, and he won the roll-off to deploy. So he deployed, and then I basically backboarded everything outside of 27 because with the +3 to move for Tempest Die, the dragons can move 15, then charge up to 12, and got the reroll on the War Scroll. So I backboarded everything. But what I didn't account for was that the Outriders can run and shoot, and that's not terrible because they didn't do too much damage, but they ran in and chipped 1 wound off the Slan. And then what I didn't account for was the Hurricanum rolling a 5 for its run, getting +1 to run, and having the +3 for Tempest Sai. So it ended up going 19 inches and then spent a CP to run and shoot.
Nice.
And then he just did 6 mortal wounds to the Slan and killed it.
Wow.
At top of turn 1. So I backboarded and lost the Slan at the top of 1. And at that point, I had the 4 dragons and 4 fulminators right in my face.
Yeah.
That was like my turn 1. And then so the Star Drake just had to drop the comet every turn and do all the lifting himself. I kept the Prime off for a turn. Fulminators cleared up some Outriders. Went into the end of the dragons. Didn't do that much damage. And then the Star Drake rolled badly some saves and took a lot of damage. I won the priority to turn 2, which made it a game. So I got to retreat with the Star Drake and then charge into Outriders and take an objective. Fulminators went in and I did another comet. I did some more stuff. And I forgot to shoot my Luminarch, which would have killed the dragon and the Hurricanum, which was really bad. But in the end, I was always behind on the primary and behind on battle tactics. So I just couldn't crawl it back. But in the end, I did do quite a lot of damage, and the game ended with my Star Drake alive and his Fulminators wounded but alive. That was the only models on the board. But I ended up losing, I think, 14-6 I lost.
Okay. Yeah, I think he ended up going to 4-1 with that list. It's pretty brutal, right?
Yeah, he was good. He was a nice guy as well.
Like,
yeah.
we were all
he
jazzed.
Played with good spirits.
Yeah, we were all jazzed about the power of 2 Fulminators. A unit of 4 is pretty...
Yeah, I killed 2 of them, and 1 was almost dead. And the last turn I went for trying to block him scoring as much. It didn't quite work. I probably should have just yeeted that Star Drake in and tried to take off the last Fulminators, and it probably would have worked because I managed to heal him back down to almost full health at that point.
Okay,
well,
fun.
Fulminators are mad, aren't they? They feel like they should bracket. They're so good. Do you know what I mean? Like when they've taken a few wounds.
Yeah, bracket. The output on them is insane. Like, and I know we've known that as a community.
You've got
for
to tag
ages,
them.
but
That's what you got to do.
yeah, I mean, even then, it's 6 attacks that are damaged too.
Honestly, yeah.
Like
the Ren doesn't go down.
Yeah.
Like even Ren 2-1 damage is amazing.
Yeah, it's true. On 10 attacks, yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So my round 4, I played Thibaut, who was Charlie's second round. So this is the French guy who was calling us all idiots for running the list. He was also he kept also finding the other Slanesh player, which was Dave Carter. And kept calling him an idiot for running a different Slanesh list. Like, the guy's unstoppable. It was amazing. Anyway, but I'd been tweeting and giving the French team shit about it. because I had no way of getting in contact with him. So I got so then I talked to him in the morning. But I'd seen him yesterday giving Charlie loads of shit and me loads of shit, and I was like, this guy seems like a barrel of laughs. And he was it was also like Adam said, you hear a lot about like the French gaming culture, but like he was incredibly articulate. It was his first non-English tournament. He's only been playing for about a year. So it was his first.
He's not been indoctrinated fully yet.
Yeah, maybe.
He's not in the French team either. He came over by himself, I think.
Yeah, he came over by himself. And he was just like an absolute treasure to play. Everything was crystal clear. All of the rules interactions were super sweet. Like we had like a wonderful game. And yeah, he had Sinesh, the MSU, like Charlie said. I took the turn, I yeeted the comet, I did some more, I killed shit tons of stuff. Then I don't think I got the Horrorghast in there. Then in his first turn, he kind of had to like move up. He'd also kind of he had 2 units of Ungor Raiders. He also had a unit of Untamed Beasts, and he also had some Seekers. So like there was an objective in the bottom left hand corner, and he decided to kind of deploy there like quite aggressively, and then pre-game move on to that. So I took the first turn, and then I think he thought my Star Drake. He kept measuring like, oh, your Star Drake and Fulminators are going to come straight up the middle, and I was just like, nah. So I just cleared the left hand objective. Like I shot everything over into the left to make sure I killed the Seekers, and then I charged the Untamed Beasts. So he lost 2 units while I just yeeted everything at the top. Because like I said, I was playing a little bit more conservatively compared to you guys. And then he won the turn maybe. There wasn't really much he could do. I finessed out with the Drake. He tried to do some shooting in, but like I'd specifically targeted his units of 3 Blizzbarb archers. So wasn't really able to do like a lot of damage. Move forward to try to set up for the turn. Then in my turn, again, I dropped the Comet, dropped some Rain of Stars, just did a bunch more stuff. Again, rolled pretty poorly. The only time it went really well was into, what's his face? Sigvald, yeah. And then I brought the Prime down, I brought the Prime down, and again, I think it was the Prime shots that killed him. He'd brought on, because he was getting depravity. I mean, it actually worked incredibly well for him because he generated so much depravity. Because there was so many units, he was just like, oh, I've got 7 points, turn 1. He was like, this is great. So he put like a Seeker Chariot down. So I brought the Prime down, and I took out a unit of the Painbringers on the left-hand side. And then I won the turn into 3, and it was just like a mop-up job at that point because like the bravery was low enough that the Horrorghast and the put spells had just done enough damage to just whittle the army down. And it was fairly fragile anyway. And so yeah, he just didn't have the staying power really against the army. And again, because I played it really casually, I just didn't really stress too much. He did get a chance to roll a Purple Sun on my Star Drake though, but my Star Drake lived because he rolled a 1 for a priority and then a 2 for every Purple Sun, and he was like, "Sacre bleu, I should rotate these around."
I was 1 priority roll away from completing that a battle tactic to have a Citizen Sigmar unit control all the objectives in your opponent's territory against him, but I lost a priority, dropped 30 demonettes in front of it.
Yeah. Yeah,
so close.
It was genuinely a really amazing game, and also I really respected. He was just like, "This is stupid, fuck you." Like round 3, he was like, "Let's just go," and then we had like an hour off. We hung out for the whole lunch. We had dinner. We went and got lunch. We had some coffees. We sat around. We talked. I hung out with Christophe as well, who's like one of the French players who I know really well. Like we just chatted away for ages, and it was just really great. We just talked about what it was like playing and all those other things. So lovely game, really fun. Like, great start to the day. Like, I already knew it was going to be, because, when you meet someone the day before, like, okay, we're going to get on. Right, this will be fun. And it was. It was just a great time. So I really liked it. That was it. And then finally, Owen, your round 5, your final game. Because going into this was quite interesting, because Adam, me, and Owen are on 3 wins and a loss. But Charlie's on 2 wins and 2 losses.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were all going after the coveted 4-1.
We all came for a 3-2, right?
Yeah.
And then I think we all got a little bit thirsty.
Yeah, we did.
In the round 5, we were like, oh.
Well, I was in a different situation to you guys.
Yeah. You were trying to claw it back. How did you feel being?
So shall we talk about what the matchups we had going into round 5?
Yeah.
You came off lunch knowing the matchups, right?
Yeah. So I had the list that beat Owen round 1, which is Simon's Tree Lord. So 3 Tree Lords, Durthu, and a Revenant. Yeah. So I was
like, on for revenge, right?
Chance.
So I'm on for the revenge to save Owen. Okay.
Yeah, also the list that when I said that I lost, you laughed at me, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah. Okay. And then Adam, you had.
I had the Soulblight Gravelords with 15 Blood Knights, and I was not happy at all. It was essentially, I found out the list and we went, oh, cool, I lose.
Also, weren't we playing Realm Stone Cache?
Yeah, worst mission I've ever played in my life.
Worst mission. Ban. Immediately ban.
Like one objective in the middle.
I don't know.
All right. No, it's terrible. Get out.
Get what?
Like I cannot argue that point with you in any way, shape, or form.
So-
Terrible mission.
The thing we should mention as well is Charlie being on 2-2 was just a little bit down on the tables, but then Adam, you were on like 15, Rob, you were on 14, and I was on 13. We were basically in a row, and we were all playing on the same side of the table as well, I think,
Yes.
weren't we?
I was on 19, I think.
19, there we go.
And then, Owen, you had who?
I had Bone Splitters, and
Easy, Owen.
yeah, I did the thing that I thought I did at the first round, where I was like, low bravery, Horrorghast, small squishy characters, let's go. And boy, how wrong was I.
And then I had Nurgle, and I think it's fair to say I was not happy going into that round 5.
No.
Coming off a tough loss. Well, the guy was nice, but it was a hard game. And I got Nurgle round 5, and I was on 2-2, and I was not happy about it.
Yeah.
I sort of went to my table at the last possible moment because I thought, I lose against Nurgle, and it will take forever, and I'm just going to roll dice and he'll roll wards. It's going to be a grind.
Yeah, taking forever to lose is a rough like mental state to go into.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Owen, how was your? So who did you play and what did you play?
So I played a lovely guy called Chris from a group, I think they're called the Outsiders. I think they might be
Yeah.
friends with your opponent James with the Soul Blight. So yeah, I underestimated what he was playing, and it was basically Bone Splitters. He had 194 wounds of models from 1985, which were they were beautifully painted, but they were naked green orc bums on little cartoony pigs. And yeah, he had a Wurgog Prophet, a Maniac, a Wardock, 2 big bosses, 2 units of more boys and expert conquerors, and then I want to say 5 units of cavalry. I think it was 2 units of 5 and 3 units of 10, and the 3 units of 10 were in bounty hunters, and they were Icebone. So 6s to wound do a mortal wound. As I found later on in the game, against Galatian veterans, 6s to wound do 2 mortal wounds. As I also found out in the game, all of those guys have exploding 6s. The whole army does. And yeah, basically, I did the stupid thing. Rushed through lunch. Adam and I ran into the venue at the last minute. I was like, this is Bone Splitters. I'll be okay. I'll just walk into the middle, blow up all his characters, charge him with the dragon and the prime, blow up a load of pigs, block up the board, and then win in the late game. And it didn't really go like that, did it, Rob? You were stood next to me. What happened was I put 5 Liberators in the middle of the board to cap the objective. I put 5 Judicators behind to shoot, the prime and the laser. And then I brought the prime down, the Celestant prime, the Slan, and then and the Fulminators as the pocket kind of hit. I brought the prime down, yeeted the dragon forward, killed the big boss, the savage boss, the other savage boss, the Wardock, and half killed the other 2 characters, chipped off a load of bits from each unit. Then I think I failed the Horrorghast and yeeted the dragon in. He killed like 4 pigs. The prime killed 1 pig because he used the 4-up war, where he has a 4-up ward in combat. And then on my first turn, he did 6 wounds to the Drake and a couple of wounds to the prime. And then I foolishly had put my Star Drake in range of the guy, the Wurgog Prophet with the mask. And he duly rolled 8 3-ups in a row and 1 banged off the Drake. Because the Drake was supposed to tag and hold everything up and just tank. And then in the combat phase, he took the prime down quite heavily. But he activated into the Liberators first, which meant that I could call to aid 5 Liberators back. And then the Prime died. And then he had about 150 wounds of orcs still left. Most of them were in. He killed all the Judicators on his turn 1. And he tagged in the Fulminators. So at the start of my turn 2, when I won Prio, I had 2 Fulminators, a unit of recycled libs, a Slan, and a Luminarch. And he had an intense green tide and a massive smile. And yeah, it was insane. 1 unit of 10 pigs, 71 attacks, 3s and 4s, 6s explode to hit, 6s to wound, do 1 to 2 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
I just totally underestimated it, and he just absolutely blew me off the board. So on my turn, I killed some pigs, chipped off some stuff, did all I could, got the Liberators into the objective to score it. So I was 8. It was 8 all going into his turn 3. Sorry, it was 8 all after 2 turns. But then I won Prio again, and by the time I had my turn 3, I had a Luminarch on 4 wounds and a Slan left.
That's not going to be enough.
It wasn't.
No.
And then they split like that, and he went, "Oh, well, all my orcs are going to go here." So I shook his hand, and I got 19 wand. And
you got 1, though, baby.
Got the 1.
That's all that mattered. That's all that mattered.
But yeah, massive. He played it great. It was he just rolled loads of dice. It would be amazing into Nighthaunt, Rob. Like, amazing into Nighthaunt, weight of dice. Like, he was a 40k player. He knew what he was doing. He set up perfectly. He just got me, and I played badly, and I underestimated the list. So
it does it does have a 55% win rate at the minute. So, like, it's just a solid list. Like, that's a solid army. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Looked atrocious, but also the battle plan was atrocious, right? What else was going to happen? You were going to walk in the middle, or he was going to walk in the middle. Like, nothing's going to change. Like, it's just a terrible battle plan that should never be played.
I think what I do though is I just backboard everything, give him first turn, go down on the primary for the first 2 turns while I'm just chipping and whittling and taking out the characters, and then at least I maybe have the Drake, some Fulminators, and the Prime later ready to then have the speed to go to the edges and clear up the objectives. But yeah, hindsight's a bitch, right?
Okay, Adam, how was your last game?
Awful. So I basically, like, at lunch saw the list, knew I was going to lose, because there's one objective in the middle, and I was against 15 Blood Knights, 1 million skeletons, some zombies, and some characters, and it was basically an auto loss before deployment.
Yeah.
So I went into it knowing I was going to lose, but I thought, well, I'll play the game, see what happens. I have to take turn 1 because I have to score 5 points.
Yeah.
Turn 1. If I don't, I just lose. So I take turn 1, move some stuff forward, do some mortal wounds. It's fine, whatever. But I put the Star Drake right in the middle, 5 Liberators, 5 Judicators, and I left a little gap between the Judicators and the Star Drake. That was the perfect, with the Fulminators behind, that was the perfect gap just for some Blood Knights to sneak through to tag the Fulminators. It was bait.
Nice.
It was bait, Rob.
Nice.
So he then takes his turn 1, moves his entire army forward. The Blood Knights charge me, takes the bait, puts the Blood Knights into the Fulminators, their tags, basically strings his Blood Knights all the way around my army. At which point my Star Drakes eat 2 out. I break them out of coherency, kill half the Blood Knight, 10 Blood Knights out of the 15, which is nuts because I basically wasn't expecting to kill any Blood Knights that game, which was quite fun. So it basically made this non-game became a game-ish. I still thought I was going to lose, but like it at least gave me some opportunity. I then win the priority into 2. I take the turn. He makes the middle objective the proving ground, which is, even funnier with that mission because you then have one objective that you can't do anything with. He's got more bodies on it anyway, so I was a little bit confused why he made the proving ground because my Liberators had died, so I'd called for aided them right next to the objective anyway. But they were quite far away from the objective. but all I did was move them and charge them onto the objective, and had one Liberator on it that took the whole objective for me, which then meant the non-game started to become a game even more. So all of a sudden, I got myself into this winning position without actually doing anything. So I have no idea like what happened. Like somehow I started doing fairly well.
Yeah, because I looked over at one point and I was like, "Oh, you're fucked." And then like a little bit later, I was like, "What the hell?" And it was going okay.
Like it was going amazingly well.
Yeah.
Like it was going really, really well. But it was just like the overwhelming bodies. Like even when I'd killed 10 Blood Knights, I'd killed the Mortis engine thingy. I'd killed the little stupid Black Library character. I'd killed all the Black Knights. I'd killed the Graveguard. Like there was still too much. And then when it only split into 2 objectives, I still couldn't control them. But I only actually lost by like a couple of points.
Okay.
So like I was actually really happy.
Hey, that's great.
Went.
Yeah.
Because it went from, you know, when you go from a complete whitewash, and I took it to a couple of points. So it was pretty good. Like it was all right, really. I enjoyed, honestly, the highlight of my weekend was just watching his face as he had to remove Blood Knight from coherency. And I was there like, yes. Feed me more.
It's great.
But yeah, like it was a non-game, basically. So I wouldn't say I enjoyed it because of a game, but I just enjoyed playing some Warhammer.
Yeah, that's super fair. Charlie, tell us about your game.
So I went up to the table in a bit of a mood, not expecting to enjoy the game. But I played against David Clarkson, and he was really nice. And I discovered he wasn't playing, what's it called, Drowned Men. So he said, I played that a bit, it's boring, I want to try something different. So he's playing a different sub-faction, I can't remember what it was now, one where you explode when you die. And that's it. And he had 3 units of the Rockmire Creed.
Fun.
And he had Bloab and Orgots and a Meister Sphinx and some Chaos Warhounds and Gutrop Spume and the little Foot Lord who had an arcane tome, so he could cast Laushon and then boat himself up and then get within 7 to shut off commands, which is pretty cool. But he also had 2 units of flies. So I deployed, and then I gave him the first turn because he put 2 units of Rockmire Creed and 1 unit of flies inside with Gutrop Spume off the board. So I gave him the first turn and made it the proving ground. So the only unit he had that could capture the objective was the Rockmire Creed. And not all of them were in range to get on the objective. So he pushed the Warhounds up really far. And then, he couldn't totally ring off the objective with them. It wasn't far enough. So I knew I could charge the Liberators in there if I needed to get on there. And then I think only a couple of the Rockmire Creed were on there. So then I took out muscle for my turn, which was to take off a unit of Galatian veterans holding the proving ground. And I just trusted in the Comet and the Horrorghast and everything else. And I just lined up the Luminarch, blasted through a load of units. So I lifted the Warhounds pretty comprehensively, and killed the cat, and did some damage to other characters to Bloab. Then I captured it, and then he got the roll. I won the roll off, but gave it to him because I wanted to know where his where Gutrot was going to turn up. I wanted to take the Comet off, wait for everything else to drop in. So I kind of covered myself on the sides, and then I would be able to Comet more stuff, and then possibly go into round 3 with a double turn if I wanted to. And in his turn 2, he came in, killed the Liberators, and I failed. I whiffed with the Star Drake and lost quite a bit of damage to him. Took 10 damage, and I shouldn't really. But then my turn, I killed 2 flies. I killed the Foot Lord. I killed Bloab. By the end of turn round 2, he only had Orgots on the board left.
Oh wow, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, and I had only lost the Liberators.
Wow.
And I didn't even have the Prime on the board. I kept the Prime off for round 3.
Oh wow.
Then round 3, he won the priority, but it split, and it split right next to my Liberator Slann Luminarch zone, and in the opposite corner where I could reach it with a Star Drake, and I still had the prime off the board.
Wow.
He dropped it down in my bottom left corner in the line, like a little castle with gut rock and everything. But he didn't want to charge me because I had moved the Horrorghast down into that corner. He didn't want to charge me because he'd gone for barge. The deployment zone's quite small, and he was worried that if he charged me and I did Unleash Hell, then killed one or two, the rest would run away and he'd fail his barge. But I didn't even get charged in my little castle in the back corner. And then in my turn too, I put the prime down, moved the Star Drake over, took control of both objectives, killed all the Rotmire Creed and Gut Rot Spune. So he basically had one Nurgling base, Orgots, and 2 flies left, and the flies were just at the game. And then we just talked it through. I won the game.
Oh, fantastic! That's especially because that's a tough matchup, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think not being the Suns, where it's a pre-game move, and he was like, I really respected him for trying something different, and it made it like a game that was, well, it made it easier for me, but a lot more enjoyable, and it didn't feel like a boring game, which was the key thing.
I don't respect that at all. Playing Nurgle, 8 flies, drown man, let's go. Every time.
All the time, every time.
Like, just commit.
Yeah, just commit. Just do it. Yeah, I agree. My final game was against the fantastic Simon Stevens with his Tree Lords. Owen played in round 1 and lost 2, so I got the vengeance, yeah? Simon turned up. He's like, Rob, I'm not feeling very well. I've had 4 espresso shots. I am buzzing, yeah? But he was just such an animated, lively character, and he'd already come up to me previously in the event and had spoke to me and was like, hey, Rob, I really like your content. I was like, thanks. He's like, also, I hate capitalism. And I was like, me too, buddy. So immediately he was my mate, and he was running Tree Lord. So I was like, he's definitely mental, yeah, which is true. And we had a wonderful game. He put all of his Tree Lords and Durthu and like every single one of his models in the forest together next to each other. So I was like, well, I guess I was going to drop a comet there. So
how could you tell where they were?
Yeah, right. So I just dropped a comet. Then I did some spells and some other nonsense and moved some libs onto the board. And then in his first turn, he did all of the shenanigans he needed to do to get his Durthu on a 6-inch rerollable into the Liberators in the middle of the board. And then he didn't get it, which was amazing. And so I was chuckling my little ass off as that happened. And then I won the priority. He rolled a 5, I rolled a 6. So I took it and I just yeeted some more stuff. Again, I don't think I rolled overly well on the mortal wounds. Like it felt like it was like another D3 1, another D3 1, and he'd healed some in his turn. So and then I brought the prime down. I yeeted it into the Revenant and took that off, the Warsong Revenant. So I took that off. But the Arch Revenant ended up on like 1 wound left or something. Oh, we also got a 12-inch charge with one of his Tree Lords into my Fulminators and started whittling down my Fulminators, which was pretty rough. My favourite bit was he kept describing his Tree Lords as a shooting army. He's like, they're actually really good at shooting. Like, and he obviously was like really you know when you're like, yeah, my army does loads of mortal wounds in AoE, and you're like, okay, and then it does fucking none. Yeah, you're like, I promise it does. Like, I promise. He was like, it's definitely a shooting army. I was like, okay, I believe you. And then he just failed to hit with basically everything. And so he just didn't do anything. And it just made me laugh a lot. But then he got, he kind of took out the Fulminators, which was like quite a lot of my threat, to be honest. And then the Realm's Tome exploded. He won the turn. And then he just like yeeted over with Durthu. No, in his second turn, sorry, he took Durthu over and just absolutely rollocked the prime, like just took him off the board, and then he did a fight and fade and like went somewhere else, and then he won the priority, and then he went over into my bottom left hand corner where like all of my stuff was kind of camped. Oh no, he went over, absolutely just trolleyed the Star Drake in 1 turn, and then he fight and faded in the bottom left hand corner, and then he trolleyed like the Slan and like everything, and I was like, oh, so he ended up with only 2 Tree Lords and Durthu left. But he basically in turn 3 just wiped out my army in like a turn. Like it was pretty impressive, the output, to be honest. And it also everything was just so tough to kill. It always healed. It didn't really move, so it just used like the movement stuff to bop around the board, and it just was really, really tough to kill, to be honest.
I think that's sort of the story of our list, though, isn't it? Like large single entity units are really tough for us to deal with.
Just want to say, killed 3 Gargants.
Yeah,
I don't know what you lot are talking about.
I've put the clock in. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Although,
I think you guys need to just roll better.
Yeah, I didn't kill anything that was valuable, to be honest. Yeah, and I was genuinely very impressed. And Simon played it really well. You know when someone's written their list, like it was really interesting. It was like, this is mine. Like I've not seen anyone else do it. This is how I play. He like modeled it. It was beautiful. Like one of them was like a Stranger Things tree lord. One of them was a Bretonian tree lord. Like it was just wicked. And I was just like,
one of them a tree lord.
One of them was 2 trees as a tree lord. No, it wasn't. It was good.
One of them was questing knight, wasn't he?
Yeah. Just going for it. Yeah.
Knight.
It was wicked. Like it was so cool. It was a great army, and he was brilliant to play. And kind of like to wrap up the show, that's my review of the weekend. I loved what we did because it felt very supportive. But my overarching review is I played 5 Legends, and there's some of the best games I've ever had. And maybe because, and I don't know how much of that was to do with the fact that we were all booing each other up, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm trying to do well at the event, and instead, I kind of turned up with my own personal mission, but I don't really know what the personal mission was.
Did you feel the list was less obnoxious than you expected it to be?
Yes. I don't think it was as obnoxious as we wanted, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we expected it to be quite obnoxious, and I think all of the games had play. I think the win for me that had the least play was KO. That's also partly to do with KO, I think. Yeah,
I think the matchups where it was very much in my favour, it did feel like it was just over the top, to be honest. And also we were pushing on Star Drakes. They're terrible. It was great.
Should we rate each of the units? How do you feel about them?
Fairly fast. Okay, so
Star Drake 100 out of 10.
Oh,
8.5.
Charlie?
Yeah, I think it's probably like an 8-ish. I think the only downside is that it creates list problems for you because of the points cost. It shouldn't be 500.
Yes, it should. It should be 700. 100.
No. 5. I'm giving it 5 out of 10. I don't like it at all.
You're wrong. Terrible.
Yeah. You got to push it in. It only died to the Purple Sun all tournament. That's the only way it died.
Mine died every game.
Mine died to Durthu.
I pushed it in probably less than Adam, but I pushed it in every game. It only died to the Purple Sun. It just didn't die.
Okay.
Mine died
killed a lot of stuff.
Slan 110.
The Slan, 10 out of 10.
100.
That's crazy.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
I don't know how Seraphon players sleep.
Slan goes to 11.
Yeah. The Prime.
100.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a 10 out of 10 as well.
I think a bit less for me. I don't think I maybe played it as... They didn't do a huge amount of damage. It just came down and shot a bit. That was really useful, but it wasn't incredible for me. So I probably like 8.
Yeah, I think an 8. I seemed to be very motivated to bring him down early. I never brought him down any later than turn 2.
Yeah, I never brought him. I brought him down early first couple of games, and I was like, right, I'm gonna bring him down later, and that opened the board up a little bit more, and that was good. And then I didn't really I've seen him be fairly tanky, but mine died pretty much on the slapback every time. So
yeah.
And then
Liberators.
10 out of 10.
75 out of 10.
Yeah. What did
10
you
out of 10.
10 out of 10.
They were good.
Stormkeep libs. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. The points cost,
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. Okay, Adjudicators?
100.
Rob, one last thing. Sorry, Rob. The Prime's got a special weapon in the Liberator unit, by the way. It's 3 attacks with 2 damage.
Sounds great. Should you have used that?
You didn't use it against the Soul Blight.
I don't think I got them into combat more than one time, to be honest.
I used his special weapon quite a lot because he was the last one dead. Yeah,
never used it.
Adjudicators, what do you reckon?
Love them.
I think 6 or 7. Yeah, they were mostly on slam protection duty and check
200
damage.
points is way too much from though.
Yeah. 200 points is way too much.
I thought they were 160 the whole weekend.
No, they're way too expensive.
Yeah, they're very expensive.
6.5 personally.
Yeah, they should be something like the 160 point range or something.
Yeah,
Fulminators though.
I give them a 6. Yeah, Fulminators 10 out of 10.
I think I didn't play them as best as they could be. I think if I played them better, they'd be 10 out of 10. I didn't charge enough with them somehow.
Yeah,
but they're amazing.
I'll go for a 9.
9.
Yeah.
I think the short range and the shooting was a little tough, so they didn't really count for much. If you get charged, you're in trouble. You can tank it, but you can't do the damage to clear stuff off.
I basically thought the whole army was expendable apart from the 2 Fulminators. I was like, so I was so gutted in my last game when
Honestly,
I was like,
same. When the Fulminators died, I was like, oh, it's game over now.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, this is
I
terrible.
mean, I think it's everything for me. It's the Star Drake. It was the Slan that needed to stay alive.
Nah, Combat Slan.
Then what's left?
Luminarch 0.
I give it
Really?
a 6 for me.
I'd go for a 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
It did decent work for me. Just adding extra bits of targeted damage along the line, several units. I did it quite a few times. The range was really good. The 40-inch threat range. You really get some stuff to finish it off after you do your spells.
I'd have happily had 5 more Judicators instead.
I would happily have 2 more
You can
Fulminators.
get 2 more. You can get 2 more Fulminators for the same price.
Yeah.
I wouldn't swap them. I wouldn't swap them for
100%.
Judicators at all. I swap them for other stuff, but not Judicators.
Yeah.
Range
Fulminators.
and mortal wounds.
Comet.
100,000 bajillion.
Yeah, 10 out of
It's
10.
bad for 90 points, isn't it?
That's crazy. It's crazy, the Comet. It's crazy. Like
Stupid good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Such
Like,
a low cast.
yeah, it's crazy good. Like, I loved it. It was great. And then Horrorghast.
I'm gonna.
I barely played an army that I could use it against.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah,
but
like-
that's just because I had shit matchups. Like,
In games where it mattered, it was really good. But that was maybe 2 games I used it properly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the opportunity cost of 40 points to
it's amazing. Like I'd have it in every list.
Yeah.
yeah, like
100%.
why are you not taking it? Like,
Yeah.
like that's like, and you've seen that, right? Like, it's slowly spiked up on the stat center. It's just getting more and more popular. Like, it definitely deserves a point hike. Like, I take that thing at 80 points. Like, it's stupid. Like, it's
Yeah.
stupid. Like,
Can't wait to see the MetaWatch video about it.
yeah, me too. All right, listen, it's been lovely. So, kind of final say, Owen, would you do something like this again?
100%. We are doing it again, aren't we?
We are.
First.
We are. We're doing. Are we doing Skaven next, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Scheming. Plotting underground.
We are an open opportunities conglomerate, aren't we? So if anyone wants to come on board, then we'll put the list out and
Oh my god.
join the gang. Imagine that half the tournament on the same list.
That might be too much.
I absolutely love the
many
idea,
minutes.
though. I love the idea.
Could you imagine just turning up to an event and it being ruined by one tweet of saying, take this list to the event?
Yeah.
And the whole event is just ruined.
We should just like aim for an event next year. We'll just pick an event and we'll be like, it's this event. We're all playing this list next year. See you there. Right?
If Bobo's on next year.
I also kind of enjoyed, though, how clandestinely we put this together, where at the last moment, we just all snuck in. I mean, we're in here now.
Yeah.
And this is the Reign of Stars event.
I'll be honest, I would have absolutely hated this weekend if it wasn't for like what we were doing. Because I had not for great games. I didn't enjoy my games that much. I didn't enjoy the event that much. But I enjoyed the list and doing it with other people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it would like turned it into a good weekend of Warhammer.
I enjoyed my games and the event, and you guys was great. So this was A+ for me.
Yeah. Okay. Owen?
Yeah, and I enjoyed Saturday night we had a meal out on the Saturday night, didn't we? And we all went to my place, and yeah, just the whole collegiate spirit. Also, I actually really enjoyed the list, and I'm gonna take it to America, Rob. I put my list in yesterday.
I know. Yeah, Reign of Stars, let's go. Reign of Stars 2.0.
Electric Boogaloo, let's go.
Oh my god. Yeah, I kind of enjoyed the list. Like, it was kind of fun. I definitely enjoyed what we were all doing together a lot more. I wasn't particularly well. I gotta say, like, I really enjoyed. I played 5 different armies, and I played 5 real gents. So, like, actually, big takeaway from me. And again, kind of really getting that vibe at the moment. Like I said earlier in the stat show, loads of new people, loads of young, like, not young people, but like, you know, lots of like fresh to the community people. And it's really great seeing them, like, you know, it's my first event. I've only started playing this year. I've got into it, like, and that's wicked. So love that. All right, okay. Listen, I hope you've enjoyed the show. Without anything, any shout outs, Adam? Anyone want to shout
out? Team Lit, my boys. They're all sound.
Okay, Owen,
especially Math Mallow.
I'll shout out Curtis, the super enthusiastic Leeds United fan playing OBR at the LGT. Really nice to meet you, Curtis. And I'll shout out Darren as well for winning the event, even though he took an incarnate.
MPE.
And Marathi.
And Marathi.
How did he do it?
And also, everybody I played, I had a really nice time. So thank you.
Charlie?
I'll shout out Russ for taking up the mantle of LGT-TO for the first time. And I think he did a good job. And there were some challenges, and I think he handled it well. So shout out to Russ. Good job, man.
I'll shout you three. Thanks for making a really enjoyable weekend. Really enjoyed it. So I was feeling atrocious through the week, and you bullied me into it, and I really enjoyed the fact that I came. So thank you very much.
Shut up, Rob.
Okay, lovely. Right, thanks, chat. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Stay hydrated, and thanks to everyone on YouTube. Please do subscribe. Thanks to everyone, and see you soon. Goodbye.